Tudo bem?
E você?
Tudo, prazer em ver você aí, né? Tenho novidade pra você, hein? E bom, já vi que você é uma forte candidata aí pra receber painéis solares.
Espero, Deus quiser. E eu fico muito satisfeita de alguém olhar pela gente pra poder parcelar isso, como a gente pode pagar, né?
Com certeza. E com certeza acho que a partir do momento que pessoas como você tomam essa iniciativa, outras pessoas acabam se sentindo mais confortáveis de fazer o mesmo, né? Um projeto piloto é sempre importante, porque ele quebra aquele paradigma de que algo é ou não é possível. E também com esse apoio que a gente está recebendo do Fundo Socioambiental da Caixa, a gente vai poder beneficiar mais 14 comunidades. Então, eu acho que o primeiro obstáculo é romper essa barreira mental de que algo não é possível, algo não é para mim.
Eu sou muito sonhadora, então acredito que sim, que pode acontecer. A primeira favela do Rio de Janeiro, né, ter as casas, ter tudo energia solar, uma energia limpa. Olha que coisa maravilhosa.
These are the voices of change, the voices of the future, the voices of reality.
And now for a broad perspective on the climate movement and the important work that the Climate Reality Project is doing to help people find their voice on the climate crisis, we're pleased to welcome the Climate Reality Project President and CEO, Ken Berlin, who joins Jamil Smith here on our stage.
Thank you, Ken, for joining us. Thank you. The Paris Agreement, Ken, was a major milestone, but of course, in the last year, we've had some setbacks here in the United States. Where does the overall global climate movement stand?
Okay, first in the United States, there's been a tremendous reaction to the president's decision to withdraw from the agreement. We're seeing a great increase in activism by individuals who are stepping up and trying to change, put us in a position to change the decision. We're seeing an increase in activism by cities, states, local governments, and businesses are all keeping their commitments to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The public has generally said they don't support what the president has done. So that leaves us in two positions. First of all, we are going to continue to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions no matter what the White House does. And we think that by 2020 and 2025, we will meet all of our commitments under the agreement, no matter what. Second, one of the interesting things about the agreement is that you can't withdraw from the agreement right away. So under the schedule the agreement is set up, the president can't withdraw from the agreement officially until November 4th, 2020. The presidential election is on November 3rd, 2020. The date is actually a coincidence, but it means that this is going to be a big issue in the presidential election for the first time. If a new president wins, the United States will be able to rejoin the agreement 30 days after that president takes office. So in the U.S., we're making progress, and the rest of the world has stood up. All the other countries in the world have said, we are going to continue our commitment to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions no matter what the United States has done. So we think this is a temporary setback that we'll be able to overcome.
Now, the 100% Committed initiative helps campuses and communities convert to renewable energy and creates climate activists along the way, of course. Now, tell us about the momentum in communities committing to go 100% renewable.
Great. You know, the goal of what we're doing to address climate change is to transition away from a fossil fuel-based economy to a clean energy economy. And one way you can do that is by cities and individuals committing to get their energy, 100% of their energy, from renewable energy. So we and a number of other groups have started campaigns to get cities to do that. About 50 U.S. cities have now committed to become 100% renewable energy. A number of college campuses have done that. We have very active efforts on college campuses now to go 100% renewable. So again, as in everything else in this, we're seeing the building up of a wave of activism that we hope will, that eventually we think will reach a critical mass and be able to make very quick progress in addressing this issue.
Now, this year, the organization hosted its largest climate leader training ever. How do the leadership trainings help people become a voice for reality?
Yeah, our last climate reality leadership training was held in Pittsburgh a few months ago when we had 1,350 trainees. We've now trained over 13,750 what we call climate reality leaders, and we have even larger trainings planned for next year. One of the things we do at the training is we train people to give a slideshow and to talk about the climate crisis. And Al Gore spends many hours talking about that and training people how to do that. We train people how to tell their own personal story so they can explain to people why they care about this issue. We try and get them to understand the science and the issues involved. And as a result of that, this year our climate reality leaders, for example, do about 3,000, go to 3,000 locations where they'll make presentations about climate change to several 100,000 people. We have other programs where we train people to speak, shorter programs to their local communities. We have a program that trains people to speak to their peers in the African American, Hispanic, faith-based business and youth communities. So we are training many, many people to go out and engage and speak to people. And when they do that, those people will speak to other people, and we think that that will increase the amount of activism very, very markedly.
So what do you hope comes out of these trainings? What are you seeing people do with that? It starts becoming leaders. What are you seeing people do?
Well, our goal is to make people leaders, and we do that. That means that we think they can go out into their communities and really help organize the work that's being done on climate change. They can go and speak at other groups about climate change, so that people hear about it. And what we do as an organization is we take our climate reality leaders and we try to get them involved in various kinds of campaigns designed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So it might be a campaign relating to a barrier to renewable energy. It might be opposition to a bad piece of legislation. It might be work to support a good piece of legislation that incentivizes renewable energy. So we work closely with our climate reality leaders to get them to be leaders in their community and to be involved in this issue.
Now, lastly, the Climate Reality Project is asking people to be a voice of reality. How do people get involved with the project?
Well, there are a couple of ways. If you're watching this program, we do ask people in the program to ask us to send them an action kit that has 12 actions that people can take when they receive that kit. And we, of course, once we get somebody's name, we'll back them up. We'll send them further information. We'll work with them afterwards. People can also go to the Climate Reality website, climaterealityproject.org. There they can, if we get their names and they go on our social media list at Facebook or Instagram, once we get people's names, again, we will be in contact with them. We'll get them information. We have branch offices in 10 countries around the world, including in Brazil, and we have chapters in the United States that people can join. So again, we'll be trying to involve people by mail, but also get them involved at a local level with our climate reality leaders and our branch offices and chapters.
Ken Berlin, CEO of the Climate Reality Project, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And now we're going to turn it back over to Caleb Worthy and Van Ness Wu to see what you've been saying.
Boom. Let there be
Welcome
light.
to the social media headquarters. We're your co-hosts.
Van Ness Wu.
And I'm Caitlin Worthy. And so last time we asked you to send in your 24 hours of reality selfies. And I was so impressed at the selfies that we received. Let's check out some of them. So Katie sent in a photo of her and her friends. They're taking a quick break from watching 24 hours of reality. I think they've been watching for most of the broadcast, which is unbelievable.
Well, what else we have here? Well, Paris, actually, she brought her niece in after watching 20 hours. Till now, she brought her niece to watch it. So.
Yeah, and Paris has been watching for 20 hours. Like, this is so much commitment. You got to be a part of the show someday.
Definitely.
We have my castmate, Ross Lynch. He tweeted an important message about protecting the planet and saving our environment. Thank you so much, Ross.
Bromance.
Love the Austin and Alex family.
That's good. What else? As a fellow Californian, I must be happy with this one. Fantastic to hear California Governor Brown talking with Al Gore about climate reality. So this has been amazing. I think it's pretty cool.
Now, I really want to hear about why you're watching 24 Hours of Reality.
Yes,
I think it'd be great for us to find out what made you inspired to watch the show and why you got involved in the environmental movement. So use the hashtag 24 Hours of Reality. Use it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And when you post it, there's a chance it could be up on this board and be a part of the show.
Yes, please tell us why.
I might even follow some people that use the hashtag 24 hours of reality. So actually, as soon as we're done here, I'm going to go on my social media, and the next people that start tweeting about it in the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to follow them, do some retweets. I'm going to be engaged with you. Because as soon as we're done here on stage, we jump right online, and we're looking through all of the social media posts. Actually, let's look at one or two more. We actually have some of the amazing people who are working with 24 hours of reality.
That's so good. Oh.
They gave us these really cool water bottles, reusable water bottles, of course.
Water bottles and everything, and I heard it's all made green too.
Oh, that's oh yeah. No, this is really cool. This is some backstage footage or pictures from what it looks like in the control booth of 24 Hours of Reality. Because this show takes so many people to have come together. There's producers, there's directors, there's crew members, there's talent like yourself.
Well, yourself.
Well, it's nothing.
Well, hey.
So please use the hashtag 24 Hours of Reality, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and your post might end up here.
Over the last hour, we've spent time getting to know some of the challenges faced by the people of Brazil and the many ways people are taking action toward a more sustainable future. Remember, the most powerful warrior in the fight against the climate crisis is you. There are many ways we can make a difference in our politics, in our communities, in our businesses, and in our own lives. Go to 24hoursofreality.org to get your climate action kit and learn more about how to speak to friends and family effectively about the climate crisis and other ways you can be the voice of reality. And now, joining us for a live performance, please welcome Levi Hummin.
Take the tears and the careless words. Take the fears and all the hurt, and let's just make it love. And let's just make it love. Yeah. Take the rain that's been falling down, and take this pain that's been hanging around, and let's just make it love. Take each other's hands, and let's just make it love while we both still can. And let's just make it love. Make it love. Oh, make it love. Ooh, yeah. And take the wrongs that we have made and change that song that wants to play. And let's just make it love. Take each other's hands, and let's just make it love while we both still can. And let's just make it love. Make it love. Then we take the hearts that are bound to break, and those burnt out stars so far away, and let's just make it love. Take each other's hands, and let's just make it love while we both still can. And let's just make it love. Hold each other right, and let's just make it love, baby, you and I. And let's just make it love. Make it love. Oh, ooh, make it love. Oh, ooh, make it love. it love.
The climate crisis has hit home with devastating effect, disrupting people's lives and livelihoods everywhere. At the Climate Reality Project, we're empowering people across the planet to become powerful forces for change, fighting for climate solutions at every level of society. We train citizens to become climate reality leaders, dynamic activists who train and work with former U.S. Vice President Al Gore and field-leading experts to mobilize their communities for action. Around the world, our branch offices and local chapters bring climate reality leaders and concerned citizens into the fight for a sustainable future. Like in Brazil, where our activists pushed government leaders to ratify the Paris Agreement in the midst of political turmoil. Or in India, where grassroots efforts helped train 3,000 teachers on the climate crisis. Our 100% Committed campaign gives people a voice in their energy future, encouraging cities like Park City, Utah, and schools like Colorado State University to commit to 100% renewable electricity. And each year, our 24 Hours of Reality broadcast invites millions to join an all-star cast of musicians, celebrities, thought leaders, and more as we direct the world's attention to protecting the planet we all share. Today, as the United States begins a process to withdrawal from the historic Paris Climate Agreement, this work takes on heightened urgency. Now more than ever, we've got to fight like our world depends on it, because it does. Join us as we make our voices heard, as we demand that our leaders take action, and together, we'll make a bright and sustainable future a reality.
Hi, I'm Nile Rodgers. It doesn't matter where you live. The climate crisis is affecting us all. Today, we all can and must do more faster. We have to fight like our world depends on it, because it does. Join me at 24hoursofreality.org and let the world know you are a voice of reality. Together, we can solve the climate crisis. Thank you.
This is called Long Way Back Home.
I got an up-close glimpse of the outside world. It's an awful big place, but that's for damn sure. can't wait until it's night. Sometimes you gotta face the light, get back in the ring, put on your gloves and fight. I think it's gonna take some time to find a way to ease my mind. I'm gonna take a long way back home. Some days I feel alright, and some days I can't wait until it's night. Sometimes you gotta face the light, get back in the ring, put on your gloves and fight. I think it's gonna take some time to find a way to ease my mind. I'm gonna take the long way back home. 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 Oh, back home.
Climate change is our biggest challenge yet. The world's getting warmer, seas are rising, and our weather is getting more and more dangerous. Our planet's future is in our hands. We must and can act and lead the fight to a clean energy future. All across the planet, climate reality leaders are doing just that. They are inspiring people to stand up and take action when it matters. You can join them, become a climate reality leader, and learn what it means to lead a world-changing movement. You'll train with former Vice President Al Gore and some of the best scientists and influencers out there. You'll learn the latest on climate science and solutions, and learn how to share it with a message that moves audiences to act. You want to make a difference? Become the world changer you know you can be. Become a climate reality leader.
Use your voice in the fight against the climate crisis. Join us this December for 24 hours of reality. Be the voice of change, the voice of the future. Let your voice be the voice of reality. We have the technology. We know the solutions. A global agreement is in place. It's now time to use your voice in the fight against the climate crisis. Join us for a journey around the globe as we focus on businesses, leaders, artists, and everyday people who are stepping up, speaking out, and fighting like our world depends on it. Because it does. This is 24 hours of reality. You too can be the voice of change, the voice of the future. Let your voice be the voice of reality.
Bienvenidos y gracias por acompañarnos en 24 Hours of Reality. Sé la voz de la realidad. Yo soy Vanessa Ock. La firma del Acuerdo de París hace 2 años dejó muy claro que las personas alrededor del mundo entienden la urgencia de actuar en esta crisis climática y que nuestros líderes están comprometidos. Y aunque ha habido progreso, hay mucho por hacer para limitar las peores consecuencias del calentamiento global. Por eso, cada uno de nosotros debemos encontrar nuestra voz en este importante tema y luchar porque se tomen acciones. Los invitamos a viajar con nosotros alrededor del mundo esta noche de la mano del ex vicepresidente de los Estados Unidos y fundador del Climate Reality Project, Mr. Al Gore. Hoy veremos cómo activistas están empoderando y cambiando comunidades enteras. Y también iremos a los lugares donde aún se necesitan voces en pro del planeta. Por las próximas 3 horas estaremos en vivo desde nuestra sede en la ciudad de Nueva York, en el Bridge de Cornell Tech, una universidad que fue construida respetando el medio ambiente y que hoy es una de las más eficientes energéticamente del mundo. Exploraremos las soluciones en cada región y los retos que enfrentan y cómo todos podemos ser la voz de la realidad para asegurar un futuro sostenible. En la próxima hora continuaremos nuestro camino escuchando de algunas de las voces climáticas más poderosas en Centroamérica. Y ahora acompáñenme a darle la bienvenida al hombre cuya voz continúa liderando el cambio, inspirando acción ante esta crisis climática. El fundador y presidente del Climate Reality Project y ex vicepresidente de los Estados Unidos, el señor Al Gore.
Gracias.
Mr. Gore, bienvenido nuevamente.
Gracias.
Me gusta tenerlo con nosotros.
Gracias por todo. Excuse me for speaking in English, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching in Central America. I'm very excited to present this hour on Central America. Let's do the 10-minute overview, and I'd like to begin, as I have with each of these short presentations, by focusing on what is at risk and the 3 questions that are relevant to the climate crisis. Must we, can we, will we change? The first of those questions, must we change, has been answered by Mother Nature and the scientists, but to address it directly, let's start by focusing on this picture from the space station that reveals the true nature of the atmosphere. When we look at the sky from the ground and look up, it seems like a vast expanse, but as this picture reveals, it is a very thin shell around our planet. And we're using it as an open sewer for all of the gaseous waste of our global civilization. We're putting 110 million tons of man-made global warming pollution into it every single day. There are many sources of this global warming pollution, including agriculture, especially animal agriculture, mining, the burning of forests and cropland, but by far the biggest source is the CO2 that is emitted when we burn fossil fuels, principally oil, gas, and coal. And as you can see, after World War II, it began to accumulate very rapidly, and it traps a lot of heat, and that is the principal reason why global temperatures have been increasing dramatically for such a long period of time. Indeed, 16 of the 17 hottest years ever measured have been since 2001, and the hottest of all was last year. Second hottest was the year before last, and the third hottest was the year before that. We have seen these very high temperatures in every part of the world, and Central America is certainly no exception. In April of this year, Central America had an extraordinary heat wave with temperatures up to 41 degrees Celsius, 106 Fahrenheit. But most of the heat that's being trapped in the Earth system is going into the oceans. In fact, half of all that heat has built up over the last 20 years, and as you can see in the lower right, it goes down now 2,000 meters and more. And this makes the ocean-based storms stronger, and these storms are coming ashore, and of course Central America is particularly vulnerable in between the 2 great oceans. This was Tropical Storm Nate. It actually hit during a period of time when The United States and the Caribbean were being hit by that string of hurricanes, Harvey and Irma and Maria. But this was a deadly storm that hit Costa Rica early in October. The same ocean heat buildup is also disrupting the water cycle by increasing dramatically the amount of water vapor coming off the oceans into the sky. And the warmer air holds a lot more water vapor. And when it comes over the land, then that dumps the precipitation in these massive downpours that we have seen all over the world. Unfortunately, Central America has had more than its share, and it is not completely uncommon to see these deadly mudslides resulting from the massive downpours along with flooding events. In June of this year, Honduras got 19 centimeters of rain in 24 hours, and there are many, many similar examples. But the same extra heat that lifts all that water vapor out of the ocean and into the sky also pulls the moisture out of the soil and makes the droughts deeper and longer. And Central America has had its share of these deadly droughts as well. Last year, Nicaragua had a drought that also affected other Central American countries, and over 3.5 million people required humanitarian assistance. It was really a 3-year-long drought extending into the early part of this year as well. The reinsurance companies of the world have kept careful records on all of these climate-related extreme events, and they have been building up, of course. As the ice melts, because of the same trapped heat, as the ice melts in Greenland and Antarctica particularly, we get sea level rise, and the top 10 cities at risk by population are shown here. And one of the areas at risk is Belize. Much of Belize is at sea level, some of it below sea level, and it is especially vulnerable to sea level rise. The doctors warn us regularly that the climate crisis is also a medical emergency. Heat stress is one of the deadly aspects, but tropical diseases are also spreading to new areas. Air travel being partly to blame, but the mosquitoes and the ticks and the other vectors, as the doctors call them, that spread these diseases have a bigger and broader range. And the areas where these diseases take root and become endemic, like the Zika crisis, you can see all those pink dots in Central America representing the spread of Zika to many new sites. This is a serious aspect of the climate crisis. The particular mosquito involved, the Aedes aegypti mosquito, is now the focus of a great deal of attention by those trying to come up with better public health strategies. So the Zika crisis hit Central America particularly hard. When it first came, some doctors urged women not to get pregnant for 2 years until they could get control of this crisis. That was a very scary warning, unlike any I had ever heard. Now, the biologists regularly demand our attention for what they regard as the most serious consequence of the climate crisis, and that is the sixth great extinction. We are at risk of losing up to half of all the land-based species with which we share this planet in this century. That would be an unbelievably tragic outcome if we allow it to happen. So all of these consequences and many more besides that I did not list here, including, by the way, the fact that it's now the #1 threat to the global economy, make the climate crisis unbearable. We cannot allow it to continue to get worse. We can't pay the cost of carbon. So the answer to that first question, must we change, is clearly yes. So let's move on to the second question. Can we change? And here the news is very optimistic because we have the solutions at hand. And they're being implemented, not quickly enough, but it's impressive. Just to start with wind power, the best projections of 17 years ago were that the world might be able to install 30 gigawatts of wind power by 2010, but actually we beat that projection 16 times over. And wind has really become a popular resource in Costa Rica and in other parts of Central America, Nicaragua among them. But look at solar. It's an even more exciting story. The best projections 15 years ago were that the world might be able to install 1 gigawatt per year of solar energy by 2010. But when 2010 arrived, we beat that goal by 17 times over, and last year we beat it 75 times over. This is an inspiring development, and just look at this incredible leap forward by Honduras with its solar energy capacity. Nicaragua is the first non-island nation in the world to get 10% of its electricity from solar. Others have now surpassed that, but it's a tremendous accomplishment for Honduras. Costa Rica, by the way, has a lot of hydropower and also a lot of wind and solar, and as a result, in 2016, it got almost 100% of all of its electricity from renewable sources, 98.1%. That is quite an accomplishment. And on a worldwide basis, the Earth gets more energy from the sun in 1 hour than the entire global economy uses for an entire year. So storage capacity is expanding dramatically, and LED lights and other efficiency improvements are moving quickly. Almost every automobile manufacturer in the world is moving to electric vehicles. So can we change? We sure can. We've got what we need to do it. Will we change? Well, the Paris Agreement of 2 years ago signed up every nation in the world to go down to net zero global warming pollution by mid-century or as soon thereafter as possible. So join those who are using their voices to fight the climate crisis. Make your voice a voice of reality. Fight like your world depends on it, because actually your world does depend on it.
La Asamblea Ambiental de las Naciones Unidas es el foro ambiental más importante del mundo. Allí se reúnen científicos, ambientalistas, mandatarios, directores de compañías multinacionales, todos para llegar a un compromiso global para mejorar la salud de nuestro planeta. Este año se está llevando a cabo en Kenia, Nairobi, y allí precisamente se encuentra el doctor Edgar Gutiérrez Espeleta. Él es el ministro de Medio Ambiente y Energía de Costa Rica y hoy nos acompaña vía satélite. Muy buenos días, doctor Gutiérrez. Gracias por acompañarnos.
Sí, muchas gracias. Buenas tardes aquí en Nairobi.
Buenas tardes. Bueno, la primera pregunta es, en abril Costa Rica se convirtió en la nación número 52 en unirse a la coalición del clima y aire puro. ¿Podría contarnos un poco sobre la misión de este grupo de naciones?
Bueno, efectivamente, al convertirnos en el país 52 que ingresa a la coalición de aire puro y el clima, adquirimos un compromiso de trabajar hacia cómo generar en nuestros propios países un proceso que nos lleve a un sistema económico que sea realmente descarbonizado. En el año 2015, Costa Rica elaboró y presentó a nuestra sociedad la Estrategia Nacional de Energía 2015-2030, donde el país le apuesta a la descarbonización de la economía y por lo tanto a la movilidad eléctrica y por lo tanto a la eliminación de fuentes contaminantes a partir de la combustión de combustibles fósiles. Obviamente es un gran desafío que tenemos en nuestros países, particularmente en Costa Rica. La contaminación del aire se convierte en un asunto realmente serio cuando tenemos un sector como el sector de transporte, que es la fuente número 1 de emisión de gases de efecto invernadero en el país, pero además la fuente número 1 de gases de vida corta, sobre todo carbono negro, que tiene una gran afectación a la salud de nuestros habitantes.
Doctor Gutiérrez, Costa Rica espera ser carbono cero para el año 2021 y yo sé que van muy avanzados en esa meta. Tengo entendido que ya llevan 300 días obteniendo su energía de fuentes renovables.
Así es, en realidad la carbono neutralidad para el año 2021 fue establecida en el año 2005 por el presidente Arias, fue presentada oficialmente en la Convención de Copenhague en el 2009 y estamos trabajando para que efectivamente en el año 2021 Costa Rica pueda lograr la carbono neutralidad que ha sido tan esperada por la sociedad costarricense, porque en realidad ha creado un state of mind, ha creado una forma de pensar muy particular del costarricense, sobre todo de sensibilidad hacia el cambio climático y hacia las medidas que tenemos que tomar para reducir emisiones. Es importante también dar a conocer de que no solamente la carbono neutralidad está en nuestras metas, sino que precisamente fuimos más ambiciosos con el Acuerdo de París y logramos establecer un compromiso nacional de descarbonización hacia el año 2050, inclusive una meta al 2100, de acuerdo a los mejores escenarios que nos ha proporcionado el IPCC. Costa Rica se compromete no solamente a reducir sus emisiones y a lograr una adaptación apropiada con una alta resiliencia de nuestra población, sino también que se compromete a trabajar con los otros países de la región para que esos también puedan avanzar rápidamente en conseguir esa gran meta que es el Acuerdo de París.
Definitivamente Costa Rica está liderando y es un ejemplo para todos los países de la región. Se espera que Costa Rica también lidere la transición hacia el transporte eléctrico. ¿Cómo va este plan?
Tenemos la gran dicha de que ya tenemos una aprobación en primer debate en nuestro Congreso, en nuestra Asamblea Legislativa, de un proyecto de ley donde se va a incentivar el uso de los automóviles eléctricos. Ya empezamos a introducir automóviles eléctricos en el país, aún sin tener esta ley, y ya estamos empezando a ver más automóviles eléctricos en las carreteras de nuestro país. Sin embargo, el desafío más grande que tenemos nosotros en el sector transporte no es sustituir el automóvil de combustión por el automóvil eléctrico, sino más bien aumentar la capacidad del país en proporcionarle a nuestros ciudadanos un transporte público eléctrico, eficiente y oportuno. Y estamos trabajando fuertemente en que esto lo logremos en los próximos 5 años.
Costa Rica se ha convertido también en un gran destino de ecoturismo. ¿Qué hace que el turismo pueda ser sostenible?
Incorporar a la gente. O sea, en Costa Rica el turismo es una de las industrias más democratizadas. En otras palabras, el dólar turístico es el dólar más democratizado que tenemos en el país, porque el 80% de la oferta turística de nuestro país es una oferta de pequeña y mediana empresa. Y esto ha hecho que efectivamente los turistas, los visitantes del exterior lo aprecien, porque no solamente logran apreciar las bellezas escénicas que tenemos, los recursos naturales que tenemos, sino también aprecian nuestra cultura y nuestros valores, los cuales también son muy apreciados por los extranjeros. Yo creo que el ejemplo de Costa Rica es un ejemplo que debería emularse a nivel internacional, de tal forma de que sea un gran número de personas, un gran número de familias que efectivamente logren beneficiarse de esta gran industria que es el turismo.
Definitivamente es un ejemplo a seguir y debería repetirse, doctor Gutiérrez. ¿Cuáles creen que han sido como los ingredientes del éxito en el caso de Costa Rica? No solo un gobierno que tiene la conciencia ambiental, sino también los ciudadanos se están involucrando.
La llave de todo, y lo hemos dicho durante mucho tiempo y se ha dicho durante mucho tiempo a nivel internacional, es la educación. La educación en Costa Rica es gratuita y obligatoria para la primaria y la secundaria, y la universitaria también es prácticamente que gratuita. Tenemos altos índices de educación y eso ha permitido de que la población pueda accesar a niveles superiores de empleo, que puedan accesar a niveles superiores de conocimiento, no solamente de la formación académica, sino de su entorno, de entender su entorno y de apreciar su entorno. Y eso ha hecho, por ejemplo, que hablando de los turistas y conversando con uno de ellos, me decían de que hay una gran diferencia conversar con un costarricense que conoce muy bien su entorno a conversar con otro ciudadano de otro país que conoce muy poco su entorno. Por ejemplo, el costarricense conoce de árboles, conoce de aves, conoce de lo que le rodea y puede conversarlo con alguien y también ilustrarle y comunicarle ese conocimiento. La educación es el factor esencial, pero también es esencial la visión de largo plazo. Costa Rica, después de la Segunda República, que le llamamos nosotros, 1949-1950, le apostó a un horizonte de largo plazo. Y tenemos garantizado a la población costarricense la salud, tenemos garantizado la electricidad, en el sentido de que son empresas públicas, es de todos los costarricenses, el agua, la educación de nuevo, en fin, tenemos los servicios básicos que se requieren en una sociedad para que efectivamente esta pueda elevarse a un nivel superior, están garantizados por el Estado y lo estamos desarrollando de acuerdo a las normas internacionales de más alta eficiencia. Y esto ha llevado, como usted bien lo decía usted al principio de la introducción, que en nuestro país tengamos hoy por hoy, ya estamos llegando casi a los 365 días del año de energía eléctrica renovable. Y eso no se logra de la noche a la mañana, eso es una apuesta que le ha hecho Costa Rica desde hace 60 años, precisamente cuando empezamos lo que llamamos la Segunda República. Una visión de largo plazo es lo que nos garantiza a nosotros realmente una utilización racional e inteligente y sostenible de nuestros recursos naturales.
Definitivamente, y esa es la fórmula ganadora. Muchísimas gracias, doctor Gutiérrez, por su participación, por el liderazgo y por todo el trabajo que usted realiza. Muchas gracias.
No, con mucho gusto y más bien a ustedes las gracias por darme la oportunidad de comunicarme con el mundo que le escucha.
Gracias.
Welcome back to the Social Media Quarter. I got my wonderful co-host here, Van Ness. Now we have a very special guest because you saw Levi perform earlier. We watched it. It was unbelievable.
I walked over there just to hear your voice.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, you were very talented.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
So I would love to know, how did you get involved in the environmental movement?
Yeah, so I grew up in Tennessee, and in Nashville, we love hiking and fishing and just being outdoors. So the environment and the world in general is a huge part of my life and being outside. I actually grew up knowing Al Gore and his family.
Because he's also from that area.
Yes, he's from Tennessee. So I knew his work, and I knew about the work, and I was just excited to be a part of this whole event.
Wow, that's great. I mean, I love your heart for the whole cause, and just seeing you being here today with all of us, and it just means so much more to us. And,
yeah.
A question is, do you have any message that you want to tell your fans, your followers, like how do they get involved, such as yourself?
I would say, you know, it's so important to take care of this planet because you only get one of these things. And if you really, really want to get involved, go check out Climate Reality Project or follow Climate Reality Project on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. And go make a difference, and you guys can find out and read about it there.
Now, we have some amazing posts that I really want to share with you. You know, we keep getting posts nonstop, and we use the hashtag 24 hours of reality. So, if you're on Twitter, if you are on Instagram, if you're on Facebook, and you want to post something, you could post
I also learned a thing about Twitch.
A Twitch? We're also on Twitch as well, yeah.
Tagboard's got it all.
Tagboard has it all. Tagboard really is amazing. So if you want to post on any of your social media platforms, we can find it if it has the hashtag 24 hours of reality. And we will see you guys soon.
Thank you, guys. Nuestro siguiente invitado es el director de Cambio Climático y Desarrollo Sostenible en el Banco Interamericano de Desarrollo. Él nos acompaña vía satélite desde Washington. Bienvenido, Juan Pablo Bonilla. Gracias por estar con nosotros.
Muy buenas tardes, gracias a ustedes por la invitación.
Señor Bonilla, el Banco Interamericano lanzó la iniciativa de energía sostenible y cambio climático. Cuéntenos un poco cuál es la meta de esta iniciativa y cómo va progresando desde el 2009.
Bueno, la iniciativa de cambio climático y energía sostenible que empezamos hace ya casi más de 10 años ha tenido una gran evolución en el BID, que es un reflejo de lo que está generando la evolución institucional del tema de cambio climático para América Latina y el Caribe como región. SECI, por su acrónimo en inglés, inició como algo muy pequeño para mostrarle al banco que esto era algo transversal para todos los sectores, que tenía vínculos no solo con el tema energético, con el tema transporte, como lo vimos en las presentaciones anteriores, con el sector salud, y se hizo algo muy importante, que fue empezar a trabajar con ministerios de Hacienda, ministerios de Planificación y con los ministerios sectoriales, incluyendo también el desarrollo de lo que era sostenibilidad en ciudades, trabajar en todo lo que era agricultura sostenible y baja en emisiones de carbono. Y la evolución de SEGI como iniciativa ha llevado a que en el año 2016 el banco haya hecho una reforma liderada por el presidente Moreno para tener un nuevo departamento de sostenibilidad y cambio climático, en el que no solo tenemos un área transversal para todos los temas urbanos, sino también los temas rurales y los temas globales de manera transversal para todos los anteriores. así como los países, como ustedes lo han ido mostrando durante el programa, hicieron sus compromisos en París, con los NDCs en inglés, con todo lo que eran los compromisos nacionales determinados, los accionistas del banco, todos los países miembros del BID tomaron la decisión hace ya cerca de 2 años luego del Acuerdo de París de tener nuestro propio NDC. El banco ha tomado la determinación como entidad, como grupo BID, la parte pública y privada del banco, para doblar la financiación climática al año 2020. Eso quiere decir que el total de créditos que el banco haga en la parte pública y privada al año 2020, el 30% de ese monto total de créditos tendrá que ir para temas de cambio climático. Así que algo que empezó como una iniciativa para mostrar la importancia de la transversalidad ha logrado ya consolidarse como un departamento transversal para todo el banco y sobre todo con una meta de financiación muy importante del 30% del total de préstamos del Grupo BID.
Algo importantísimo, señor Bonilla, ya que estamos viviendo esta realidad climática en todo el planeta, así que se necesita esta inversión. Hablando precisamente del NDC, ¿qué países están utilizando ya este plan?
Bueno, todos los países de la región se están movilizando luego de París para cumplir con estos famosos NDCs. Y lo que hemos hecho de una manera muy práctica es hacer una plataforma que la llamamos NDC Invest, que tiene un componente primero para preparación de proyectos, cualquier proyecto desde lo público o privado que requiera recursos para hacer los estudios de factibilidad y prefactibilidad pueden aplicar a esto, y luego ya la parte de financiación del banco. Tenemos ya cerca de 12 países que están trabajando con nosotros en esta plataforma y creo que paulatinamente vamos a ir teniendo una cobertura de casi todos los países de la región en los próximos años.
Centro y Suramérica son regiones que son muy vulnerables a las precipitaciones, a los huracanes cada vez más fuertes, además, por supuesto, del aumento en el nivel del mar. ¿Usted nos podría decir, mientras estos países están adaptándose y aprenden a adaptarse, cuál sería la inversión más urgente en sostenibilidad en esta región?
Esta es una excelente pregunta porque estamos viendo, como bien lo decían los anteriores panelistas, los impactos del cambio climático a nivel global, pero la importancia de empezar a adaptarse. Y para poder adaptarse, yo diría que la primera gran inversión que tienen que hacer todos nuestros países es mejor planificación. Es poder empezar a ver a nivel de infraestructura, a nivel de ciudades, cómo hay que hacer las cosas bien desde el principio, porque si no viene un desastre como los que hemos visto durante este año, y así tengan los recursos para reconstruir. Si no tienes buenos códigos de construcción, si no tienes buena planificación de dónde se deben generar y no construcciones, vas a volver a tener los mismos impactos cuando vuelvas a tener un desastre. A manera de ejemplo, el Caribe, vimos todos los impactos que se han generado, al igual que Centroamérica. El banco está desarrollando una plataforma, que es la plataforma de islas sostenibles, y más allá de la inversión, ya la gerenta del Caribe en el banco, Therese Turner, anunció la semana pasada cerca de $1 billón en los próximos 5 años para infraestructura resiliente en el Caribe. Es muy importante esa parte preliminar de planificación. Cómo crear la capacidad institucional en los países, primero para tener, por ejemplo, mejores códigos de construcción. Al mismo tiempo, cómo desarrollar líneas de contingencia, es algo muy importante que está haciendo el banco. Son líneas que generamos con los ministerios de Hacienda para que apenas haya un desastre podamos inmediatamente girar esos recursos. Pero lo más importante, cómo poder utilizar esos recursos de manera inteligente para que el desarrollo que vayamos haciendo sea mucho más resiliente. Como ejemplo, hace unas semanas aprobamos un crédito para Bahamas de cerca de $35 millones. Básicamente se basa en el manejo de zonas marinas y costeras de un parque natural muy importante de Bahamas, que sirve como barrera de resiliencia para la infraestructura de Bahamas y para todo lo que es la parte de Andros. Cada vez más tenemos que dedicar tiempo a la planificación, no solo de este tipo de infraestructura, sino de lo que van a ser mejores ciudades para que sean más resilientes a los impactos.
Definitivamente. Y hablando uno de estos ejemplos, Colombia este año fue azotado por deslizamientos de tierras que tuvieron consecuencias catastróficas. A nivel de infraestructura, ¿qué cambios se deben hacer en nuestros países para que esto no siga ocurriendo?
El caso de Mocoa fue un muy buen ejemplo y el presidente Santos le pidió al presidente Moreno presentar una propuesta que fue bastante innovadora porque básicamente veíamos cómo había que aprovechar. Suena bastante paradójico esto, cuando hay un desastre, para uno poder tener mejor planificación hacia futuro. Ejemplos como parques lineales que sirvan primero para que en áreas que son sujetas a desastres, a deslizamientos, no se construya vivienda, no se haga ningún tipo de desarrollo, sino que simplemente sirvan para esparcimiento público, pero al mismo tiempo como barreras de protección, es un ejemplo preliminar. Pero es algo que usted está empezando a ver en todas las ciudades. Cada vez que uno visita la región, los patrones de lluvia se están disparando y la infraestructura de drenaje urbano que han hecho nuestras ciudades tradicionalmente no se diseñó con este tipo de parámetros. Usted mencionaba Colombia, otro muy buen ejemplo de Colombia es Barranquilla, yéndonos al norte. Barranquilla en los últimos años ha hecho un proceso de canalización muy importante de los arroyos. Este tipo de obras de infraestructura de drenaje urbano son en el fondo una medida de adaptación al cambio climático. Así que para las ciudades, el ministro de Costa Rica hablaba de la importancia de todo lo que es el transporte masivo, sostenible, el transporte eléctrico. Hay que ver las oportunidades de crecimiento basadas en mejor infraestructura, ya sea energía eólica, energía solar, transporte sostenible, pero desde el punto de vista de cómo enfrentar los impactos como el tema de lluvias, deslizamiento, cómo cada vez más ir generando mejor planificación vía obras de drenaje urbano, vía obras inclusive de parques lineales, para que nuestras ciudades, utilizando inclusive la conservación de biodiversidad, temas como humedales, los manglares, tengan barreras de resistencia hacia lo que va a ser infraestructura sostenible en ciudades también.
Que se adapten de una forma natural. Por último, señor Bonilla, ¿cuál es la mejor forma de movilizar la inversión privada para proyectos de energía limpia?
Lo más importante es tener un diálogo público-privado. Sin duda alguna, lo primero que tenemos que avanzar, ya hay muchos países en la región que lo han hecho, en Centroamérica, Suramérica y el Caribe, es en las reformas regulatorias que permiten luego la inversión privada. Reformas a la energía como se han hecho en países como en México, como en el mismo Nicaragua, Uruguay, Chile, han permitido grandes inversiones del sector privado. Para ponerle un ejemplo, el banco ha montado una nueva unidad para alianzas público-privadas donde la base es este tipo de reformas. En Chile por ejemplo, se hizo una reforma para poder vender energía en bloque por horas, y la energía en bloque que se vende de 10 de la mañana a 5 de la tarde fue la que permitió que se disparara la inversión solar y que luego entidades como el banco, vía su parte privada, IDB Invest, pudiera hacer ese tipo de financiación. Lo mismo ha pasado en países como Uruguay, México y muchos países de Centroamérica. Sin duda alguna, poder hacer desde el principio en las alianzas público-privadas la incorporación de lo que son las reformas. Colombia, lo mencionábamos anteriormente, tuvo un carbon tax en la última reforma tributaria que va a permitir contar con recursos también hacia futuro para poder tener mayor movilización privada. Temas como el de residuos sólidos, que mucha gente se pregunta por qué residuos sólidos está asociado también con cambio climático. Las emisiones de metano que se producen en cualquier relleno sanitario son supremamente altas, sí, y su potencial de calentamiento global es mucho más alto que el CO2. Si desde el principio uno, por ejemplo, hace rellenos sanitarios regionales y en este tipo de concesiones uno muestra el potencial de capturar ese metano para generar energía, uno está permitiendo que también pueda entrar después el sector privado, claro, para la financiación.
Así es, así es. Hay mucho por hacer. Muchísimas gracias, señor Bonilla, por su tiempo y por haber estado con nosotros.
A ustedes muchas gracias por la invitación.
Cada hora los hemos llevado a conocer soluciones que ya se están implementando alrededor del mundo. Son las historias de individuos o grupos que están tomando acción a nivel personal, en sus negocios, en sus comunidades, en la política y están teniendo un gran impacto. En Nicaragua, nuestra historia viene de Sabana Grande, donde una comunidad entera está cambiando su futuro económico gracias a la energía limpia. Veamos.
Around the world, everyday people are stepping up, speaking out and fighting the climate crisis like our world depends on it. Because it does. Every voice makes a difference. These are the voices of change, the voices of the future, the voices of reality.
Sabana Grande es un valle, es plano, hay montañas que nos rodean y también hay muchos recursos naturales que se están preservando y se están cuidando. Siempre somos un pueblo indígena que estamos ahí siempre preservando nuestros antepasados.
Sabana Grande, desde el inicio que hemos vivido, ha sido un lugar muy pobre. No hay una fuente de empleo para trabajo. Ya cuando ha cambiado para nosotros, ha venido cambiando ya cuando nos organizamos, ya a trabajar lo que es con la energía limpia.
Mi nombre es Susan Kine. Trabajé en la Universidad Nacional de Ingeniería. Descubrir lo que fascinaba a los estudiantes, que era la energía renovable y especialmente solar. Yo me dedico a trabajar en Grupo Fénix, que originamos porque vimos la necesidad de algo para formar un mundo más digno, más justo, más sostenible. Describo Sabana Grande como una área que experimentó fuerte la guerra, que se ha ido levantándose, de sentirse sin futuro, a poder tomar su futuro en sus propias manos.
La vida de antes de la comunidad era prácticamente una tiniebla porque no había mucha electricidad. Cuando nos mudamos a esta casa no teníamos luz. Entonces se dio la oportunidad a través de Grupo Fénix, estaba ofertando lo que es sistemas solares. Entonces nosotros, es una tecnología nueva para nosotros.
El impacto positivo de la energía solar en Sabana Grande aquí ha sido más en vender información. Las personas de la comunidad aprendiendo de eso llegaron a ser excelentes instructores, educadores de eso.
Yo cuando miraba que estaban haciendo los paneles yo me emocioné y dije, wow, yo puedo. Entonces empecé a practicar, a hacer mis prácticas y a ver como la realidad prácticamente.
Entonces la clase de hoy es cortar celdas y soldar celdas.
Yo les estoy enseñando 4 jóvenes de la comunidad.
Como pueden ver, esta es una celda estándar, que es la que usamos para los paneles grandes, pero nosotros lo que vamos a hacer es cortar 4 unidades para hacer este modelo, que este modelo es para cargar celulares. Los estoy capacitando porque vamos a hacer un grupo ya formal como taller asesor. Entonces hacerlo como planchadito, mira, Eliezer, plano.
Sí. Entonces para mí fue un orgullo y un momento feliz, pues, con el entusiasmo de, así como yo aprendí, que otros aprendan.
La manera que estos proyectos han impactado la economía y calidad de vida en la comunidad es que las personas vieron con eso una manera para ser líderes. Un ejemplo muy bueno es que Rumalda, que era uno de los que hacían las cocinas solares y es muy adepta en todo eso, que ni lee ni escribe, pero tiene don de profesora.
Y me asusté primero, fue con mi cocina solar. Yo me hacía muchas preguntas, cómo iba a ser yo para cocinar, porque yo no le miraba nada, pues, de qué. Y entonces ya me fueron explicando. Ese día fue el primer día que yo preparé alimentos en la cocina solar.
Gracias.
Nosotras, las cocineras hacen uso de las cocinas solares y estamos tratando de cuidar el medio ambiente.
Las mujeres solares somos un grupo de mujeres que estamos organizadas en Grupo Fénix. Lo que hacemos es cocinas solares, también damos clases a cualquier persona que quiera aprender en lo que es la cocina solar. Nunca se me imaginaba a mí que yo iba a poder cortar zinc o agarrar una circular y cortar madera. Y ahora pues yo lo hago. Nosotros la casita solar la hicimos con las ideas, pues, con los sueños que tenemos como madre, de que nuestros hijos no emigren y que haya una fuente de trabajo donde podamos trabajar. Vivíamos inundados de humo, porque antes nos íbamos para los cerros, con mis chavalos, estaban pequeños, a buscar leña. Es que nosotros estamos consumiendo algo limpio, que no es contaminado.
Las mujeres solares de Totogalpa, inspirando muchos más a entender la importancia de ocupar la cocina solar para no ir deforestando los bosques. Era un problema muy serio en esta área.
Yo me convertí en agricultor a partir de los 7 años. Conozco de lo que es la agroecología, sé lo que es cómo dar un buen manejo a los sistemas de irrigación. Sabana Grande es una comunidad, está formada de 7 pequeñas comarcas. Conozco mucho a la gente, conozco su cultura. Producir en la época seca aquí es muy difícil. Cuando comenzamos a sembrar, las mujeres iban a traer agua, regaban con pana, uno por uno, regaban todo, pero era como difícil. Entonces, lo que son los paneles solares ha ayudado al máximo, podríamos decir. De la bomba solar, donde sale el agua hacia el tanque, para luego traerlo aquí al riego. Entonces es ahí donde aprovechamos para sembrar hortalizas y algo otros tipos de plantaciones. La misma gente puede servirse de ellos, igual la misma gente de la comunidad.
Es muy importante que los jóvenes se involucran en la energía solar. He estado esperando este día para ver este taller que ayuda a definir mejor el futuro. Da la estructura que hace que pueden seguir siendo líderes de cómo una comunidad puede ser sostenible.
Yo la sueño, sino que ya una comunidad más educada en el asunto ambiental, una comunidad más avanzada, una comunidad con más empleo. Cuando hay algo que avanza, pues hay todo eso.
Somos un buen ejemplo que también una pequeña comunidad puede actuar y afectar su ambiente. La manera que recibimos nuestra electricidad, la manera que nos movemos, hace que nuestra comunidad hace resiliente sin mucha necesidad de grandes cosas. Todas estas actividades de todos los grupos están muy importantes en poder proteger esta comunidad del cambio climático y también mitigar el cambio climático.
These are the voices of change, the voices of the future, the voices of reality.
Nuestra siguiente invitada es la directora ejecutiva de la organización Amazon Watch. Démosle la bienvenida a Leila Salazar López. Muchas gracias, Leila, por estar aquí con nosotros.
Gracias a ti.
Vienes a hablarnos de un tema tan importante. Uno de los recursos más preciosos que tenemos en nuestro planeta es la selva amazónica, es el pulmón del mundo. Pero tú vienes a decirnos que está en un momento crítico y muy cerca a un punto de no retorno.
Sí, la Amazonía, la selva amazónica es la selva más grande tropical en todo el mundo. También es el más biodiverso, ¿no? Conocemos el río Amazonas como el más grande del mundo. Proviene 20% del agua dulce de todo el mundo, 30% de la biodiversidad de todo el mundo está en la Amazonía. Y también se reconoce como el pulmón del mundo, pero también los pueblos indígenas, que hay más de 400 distintos pueblos indígenas en la Amazonía que están defendiendo y protegiendo la Amazonía. Sí. Ellos también nos dicen que la selva amazónica también es el corazón del mundo.
Seguro.
Entonces, es un lugar tan especial para proteger para la vida, no solo en la Amazonía, pero para toda la vida en el mundo y para el cambio, para el clima global.
¿Cómo afecta? Explícanos un poco en palabras sencillas por qué es tan esencial la selva amazónica y qué está en riesgo si llegara a perderse más.
Bueno, si pensamos en las emisiones de carbono, las emisiones de gases invernaderos en todo el mundo, como 20-25% son de deforestación. Sí. Y mucho de eso viene de la Amazonía. La Amazonía es el pulmón del mundo, nos ayuda a respirar. No solo es un sumidero de carbono, también es la máquina de nuestro sistema global de cómo funciona el sistema de clima. Entonces, si destruimos y seguimos deforestando, si seguimos degradando el pulmón del mundo, el corazón del mundo, estamos afectando todas nuestras vidas y el clima también. Hay muchas amenazas, desafortunadamente, a la Amazonía. Incluye desarrollo industrial, como petróleo, como explotación petrolero, minero, expansión de mega represas en la Amazonía, principalmente en Brasil, también agronegocios. Y estas son muchas amenazas que siguen amenazando a nuestra Amazonía. Y tenemos que enfrentar esas amenazas con soluciones de los pueblos, de los verdaderos defensores de la Amazonía, que son los pueblos indígenas.
Porque precisamente eso es algo muy importante que resaltar. Ellos son los que están protegiendo la selva, ellos no quieren que corten sus árboles para crear megarepresas o para la minería, y son los más afectados porque muchas veces son desplazados de sus hogares, de sus comunidades.
Exacto. Y estamos hablando de árboles, pero estamos hablando de bosques enteros y territorios enteros. Cuando hablamos de los defensores, los guardianes del bosque, de la selva, estamos hablando de pueblos indígenas, de comunidades locales que han estado defendiendo y protegiendo esas selvas por miles de años. Y si le preguntamos a cualquier científico cuáles son las mejores selvas protegidas en el mundo, son los territorios indígenas, pero están bien amenazadas en este momento.
¿A qué grado se destruye la Amazonía? Sé que hay algunas estadísticas, no sé si nos puedes dar alguna, cada minuto más o menos qué porcentaje de la Amazonía se corta y qué está en juego si no hacemos algo para detener esa destrucción.
Bueno, lo que te puedo decir es que sí está aumentando la deforestación cada día. Por las amenazas que ya mencioné. La gente típicamente escucha de lo que está pasando en Brasil, ¿no? Y hay deforestación y degradación inmensa pasando allí, principalmente por la expansión de agronegocio. Si pensamos en la expansión de soya o de ganado en la Amazonía, y solo si vemos la deforestación causada por eso, sería como 66% de las emisiones de Brasil son de agronegocios. Pensamos en eso, sería como si el agronegocio fuera un país en el mundo, sería el 8º mayor contaminador por emisiones de deforestación en el mundo. Entonces, es bien grave las amenazas y la deforestación en Brasil, pero no solo en Brasil, en toda la Amazonía, en Ecuador, en Perú, en Colombia, en el oeste de la Amazonía. Las grandes amenazas son la extracción petrolera, minera. Una semana antes del COP, que estuvimos hace unas semanas en Bonn, una semana antes, el gobierno ecuatoriano anunció una nueva concesión, una nueva licitación de concesiones petroleras. Entonces, esa es una gran amenaza a las cuencas sagradas, a los selvas vivientes, al pulmón del mundo. Si queremos reducir emisiones, si queremos defender las selvas, no podemos seguir extrayendo petróleo, minería de la selva.
¿Qué tenemos que hacer para crear conciencia sobre la importancia de todos proteger esta región tan importante de nuestro planeta?
Bueno, como Amazon Watch, nuestra misión es parar la deforestación, parar la destrucción de la Amazonía. Eso es primero. Con todas las amenazas, lo principio es decir no. Pero no es suficiente, tenemos que decir no y también tenemos que promover las soluciones, ¿no?
Claro.
Tenemos que promover soluciones que son lideradas por la conservación de las selvas, pero conservación liderada por los pueblos indígenas, por las comunidades locales. Tienen soluciones, tienen sus planes de vidas, tienen sus territorios, tienen sus derechos. Muchas veces no están reconocidos, no están respetados.
Claro.
Lo que queremos es que se respeten los derechos, los territorios y se respeten las soluciones que están llevando y están llamando los pueblos indígenas. Y también queremos justicia climática. Y cuando hablo de justicia climática estoy hablando de parar la deforestación y avanzar las soluciones de los pueblos indígenas, pero también conectar los movimientos de pueblos indígenas y la sociedad civil, que queremos justicia en las negociaciones, en las propuestas de cambio climático, porque muchos de los gobiernos en la Amazonía, y no solo en la Amazonía, aquí en Estados Unidos y en muchos otros lugares, no están siendo los líderes que queremos y necesitamos para enfrentar la realidad que está pasando ahora. La realidad es que estamos en caos climático.
Así es.
Y para enfrentar eso necesitamos también nosotros, cada persona, la sociedad civil, los movimientos se tienen que unir y juntar, como se hizo en Standing Rock, como un ejemplo, como se está haciendo ahora en Ecuador. Hay una marcha indígena para pedir resultados, para que se respeten los derechos indígenas y están exigiendo que se mantiene el petróleo bajo suelo en la Amazonía, que se respeten los derechos, que se respeten los territorios indígenas.
Bueno, algo importantísimo, tienes un trabajo maravilloso y una gran misión y espero que todos hayan sentido el amor que tú sientes por la Amazonía, que yo lo comparto en verdad. Muchas gracias por estar aquí y por el trabajo que realizas.
Gracias. Gracias a todos.
Bueno, durante esta última hora hemos conocido cuáles son los retos que enfrentan los centroamericanos y los esfuerzos que mucha gente está tomando acción para crear un futuro sostenible. Recuerda, el guerrero más poderoso en esta crisis climática eres tú. Hay muchas formas en las que podemos hacer la diferencia, en la política, en nuestras comunidades, en nuestros trabajos y también en el día a día. Visítanos en 24hoursofreality.org. Allí encontrarás herramientas para aprender cómo tú también puedes ser la voz de la realidad. Y ahora, del nuevo show de Broadway, Anastasia, Christy Altamore nos lleva en una aventura hacia el pasado.
Heart, don't fail me now. Courage, don't desert me. Don't turn back now that we're here. People always say life is full of choices. No one ever mentions fear or how the world can seem so vast on a journey to the past. Somewhere down this road, I know someone's waiting. Years of dreams just can't be wrong. Arms will open wide, I'll be safe and wanted. Finally home where I belong. 'cause once a time I must have had them too. Love of family, I will never be complete until I find you. One step at a time, one hope then another. Who knows where this road may go? Back to who I was, on to find my future, things my heart still needs to know. Yes, let this be a sign, let this road be mine, let it lead me to my past and bring me home.
That was beautiful. That was Christy Altomar singing Journey to the Past from the Broadway show Anastasia. And we'd like to thank the cast and producers of Anastasia and the Broadway Green Alliance for helping educate, motivate, and inspire the entire Broadway community to adopt environmentally friendly practices.
The climate crisis has hit home with devastating effect, disrupting people's lives and livelihoods everywhere. At the Climate Reality Project, we're empowering people across the planet to become powerful forces for change, fighting for climate solutions at every level of society. We train citizens to become climate reality leaders, dynamic activists who train and work with former U.S. Vice President Al Gore and field-leading experts to mobilize their communities for action. Around the world, our branch offices and local chapters bring climate reality leaders and concerned citizens into the fight for a sustainable future. Like in Brazil, where our activists pushed government leaders to ratify the Paris Agreement in the midst of political turmoil. Or in India, where grassroots efforts helped train 3,000 teachers on the climate crisis. Our 100% Committed campaign gives people a voice in their energy future, encouraging cities like Park City, Utah, and schools like Colorado State University to commit to 100% renewable electricity. And each year, our 24 Hours of Reality broadcast invites millions to join an all-star cast of musicians, celebrities, thought leaders, and more as we direct the world's attention to protecting the planet we all share. Today, as the United States begins a process to withdrawal from the historic Paris Climate Agreement, this work takes on heightened urgency. Now more than ever, we've got to fight like our world depends on it, because it does. Join us as we make our voices heard, as we demand that our leaders take action, and together we'll make a bright and sustainable future a reality.
We have the technology. We know the solutions. A global agreement is in place. It's now time to use your voice in the fight against the climate crisis. Join us for a journey around the globe as we focus on businesses, leaders, artists, and everyday people who are stepping up, speaking out, and fighting like our world depends on it. Because it does. This is 24 Hours of Reality. You too can be the voice of change, the voice of the future. Let your voice be the voice of reality.
Bienvenidos y gracias por acompañarnos en 24 Hours of Reality. Sé la voz de la realidad. Yo soy Vanessa Oak. La firma del Acuerdo de París hace 2 años dejó muy claro que las personas alrededor del mundo entienden la urgencia de actuar en esta crisis climática y que nuestros líderes están comprometidos. Y aunque ha habido progreso, hay mucho por hacer para limitar las peores consecuencias del calentamiento global. Por eso, cada uno de nosotros debemos encontrar nuestra voz en este importante movimiento y luchar porque se tomen acciones. Los invitamos a viajar alrededor del mundo esta noche de la mano del ex vicepresidente de los Estados Unidos y fundador del Climate Reality Project, Mr. Al Gore. Hoy veremos cómo activistas están empoderando y cambiando comunidades enteras. También iremos a los lugares donde aún se necesitan voces en pro de nuestro planeta. Por las próximas 2 horas estaremos en vivo desde nuestra sede en la ciudad de Nueva York, en el Bridge de Cornell Tech, una universidad que fue construida respetando el medio ambiente y que hoy es una de las más eficientes energéticamente del mundo. Exploraremos las soluciones en cada región, los retos que enfrentan y cómo todos podemos ser la voz de la realidad para asegurar un futuro sostenible. En la próxima hora continuaremos nuestro camino escuchando algunas de las voces climáticas más poderosas en Sudamérica. Y ahora, acompáñenme a darle la bienvenida al hombre cuya voz continúa liderando el cambio, inspirando acción ante esta crisis climática. El fundador y presidente del Climate Reality Project y el ex vicepresidente de los Estados Unidos, el señor Al Gore.
Gracias
Mr.
otra
Gore,
vez,
otra vez,
Vanessa.
bienvenido de regreso.
Gracias. Excuse me for speaking in English. For those of you watching in South America who don't speak English, thank you for tolerating this. We are going to spend this hour on South America, with the exception of Brazil, because we devoted an entire hour to Brazil earlier. So let's get started. Let's start the way all of these have started, and that is with a reminder of what is at stake, our only home, and a reminder of the 3 questions, and there are only 3. Must we change? Can we change? Will we change? And in addressing the first of these questions, do we really have to change? It's important to focus on the true nature of the atmosphere. This is a fact that helps to explain why the climate crisis is as bad as it is. Many people have the impression that the sky is a vast and limitless expanse, but as this picture from the space station shows very clearly, it's an incredibly thin shell of atmosphere around our planet. If you could drive a car straight up in the air at normal highway speeds, you'd get to the top of the breathable sky in 5 or 10 minutes. And what that means is, with the power and scope of our global civilization, we are now able to put so much gaseous pollution up there, it really changes the chemical composition of the atmosphere dramatically. Actually, we're using it as an open sewer for 110 million tons of man-made global warming pollution every single day. It has many sources, including agriculture, especially animal agriculture, mining, the burning of forests, the burning of cropland. But the biggest source of global warming pollution by far is the CO2 that is emitted when we burn coal, oil, and gas to produce 80% of all the energy that is used by our global economy. This is having a big impact on global temperatures. They have been going up quite dramatically all around the world, and 16 of the 17 hottest years ever measured have been since 2001. The hottest of all was last year. The second hottest was the year before. The third hottest was the year before that. So the pattern is very clear. And in South America, take Caracas, Venezuela, for example. A 2-degree increase would mean that the lethal heat threshold, medically defined, would be present for half of each year. This extra heat also is disrupting the water cycle by vastly increasing the amount of evaporation coming off the oceans. The water vapor goes into warmer air, which holds more moisture, and then when that comes over the land, we get these huge downpours with lots of precipitation in a relatively compressed period of time. This was the scene in Lima, Peru earlier this year. At least 94 Peruvians died. And the unusually high temperatures of the Pacific, from whence all the water vapor that fed the rainstorm came, was identified as the proximate cause of this tragedy. Now, this was an unbelievable event. Just 5 weeks ago, 1.5 meters of hail fell in Argentina in 15 minutes. We've talked about rain bombs. This was a hail bomb. 5 feet of hail in 15 minutes. People were trapped in their cars. Well, the same extra heat that is disrupting the water cycle and putting all this extra water vapor in the sky is also pulling it out of the first several centimeters of the topsoil and making the droughts go deeper still and last longer. And South America has had more than its share of such droughts. Last year, on the border between Argentina and Paraguay, there was a devastating drought. And where there are droughts, there are fires, because high temperatures and dried out vegetation are associated with these big fires, the likes of which we haven't seen until recently. This was 1 million acres of land, thousands of people left homeless earlier this year in Chile. Tragically, 4 firefighters and 2 policemen lost their lives fighting this fire near St. Olga. So the reinsurance companies have been keeping careful records of all these events, as you would expect, and they have all been going up quite dramatically around the world. Now, we need to talk about sea level rise, and that means looking at the melting of ice in Greenland. Here is a glacier partway through the last century, and now all the ice is gone there. And here are the measurements made by NASA of the dramatic decline in the mass of ice on Greenland. A similar process is now accelerating in Antarctica, and this is accelerating sea level rise all around the world. The coastal population of Peru, almost half of that coastal population is at risk with a 1 meter sea level increase. And there are multiple places in South America where sea level rise is a serious problem. The agricultural specialists are now warning us that in the past we have tended to underestimate the impact of heat stress on the food crops that we rely on. This is a growing source of concern. The doctors are warning us that the climate crisis is also a medical emergency, in part because the tropical diseases are moving to new locations, not only because of air travel, which is a major factor, but also because mosquitoes and ticks and the other vectors that carry these diseases have a wider and bigger range in a warmer and more chaotic climate. The Aedes aegypti mosquito is the one that's considered most dangerous because it's the one that usually carries Zika and dengue if it is in the region. The biologists are warning us that the climate crisis is causing what they refer to as the 6th great extinction. We are now at risk of losing 50% of all the land-based species with which we share this planet. We cannot allow that to happen. So when you add up all of these impacts of the climate crisis, some of which I haven't even mentioned, ocean acidification, infrastructure loss, and others, I will mention the fact that it's now considered the #1 threat to the global economy. You add up all this cost, it's clear that the answer to that first question, must we change, is clearly yes. So let's move to the second question. Can we change? Here there's really good news because we have the solutions at hand. Just look at the predictions 17 years ago for the world's deployment of wind energy. They hoped the world might deploy 30 gigawatts by 2010, but actually we beat that projection by 16 times over. And in multiple areas of South America and Central America, we're seeing a dramatic expansion of wind electricity. And Argentina just opened its first wind turbine manufacturing plant last year. There are lots of jobs associated with renewable energy, including with solar, where the story is even more exciting. The best projections 15 years ago were that the world might be able to deploy 1 gigawatt of solar electricity per year by 2010. However, when 2010 arrived, we beat that projection by 17 times over, and last year we beat it by 75 times over. In South America in particular, we are now seeing an explosive expansion in solar-produced electricity. It's extremely exciting. An exponential curve, and it's still growing and still getting steeper. And Chile, some people here know that I'm particularly excited about this story, and I'm very much looking forward to an interview with President Michelle Bachelet not long after the conclusion of this slide presentation. This is one of many solar farms in Chile. But when President Bachelet saw 11 megawatts, it grew to 400 and then 1.6 gigawatts. This is what's under construction and in the pipeline approved for construction now in Chile. It's absolutely astonishing. They are planning and almost completing an incredible 15 gigawatts plus of solar electricity. This is an inspiring story. And it has provided inspiration, I can tell you personally, to a lot of people around the world. And everybody knows by now, or most people do, that the solar resource is virtually unlimited. In fact, we get as much energy from the sun in 1 hour here on Earth as would be necessary for all of the energy consumption for the world for a full year. Battery storage has been growing, but look at the projections for the growth in the years ahead. Auto manufacturers are moving to electric vehicles. This takes petroleum out of the mix and reduces emissions. So can we change? You bet we can. So the final question, will we change? Well, there's a lot of optimism, partly because 2 years ago the Paris Agreement saw every nation in the world commit to go down to net zero global warming pollution by mid-century or as soon thereafter as possible. It's true that President Trump wants to pull the U.S. out, but he cannot legally do that until the first day after the next presidential election in 2020. And in the meantime, states, cities, universities, thousands of business leaders are making the reductions, and the U.S. is going to exceed its commitments in Paris. The grassroots support in South America is like here in the U.S. It is growing. And so use your voice to fight the climate crisis. Make your voice a voice of reality. Fight like your world depends on it, because your world does depend on it.
Welcome back. If you are just tuning in, my name is Caleb Worthy.
I'm Van Ness Wu.
And we are your social media co-hosts for the rest of 24 Hours of Reality. And if you've already been watching, you know that we're looking for hashtags 24 Hours of Reality on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Now let's check it out, because we asked the question earlier, what do you do to help the climate crisis? And we got some amazing answers. We got this one, who is a climate leader in Denver, and she says that she strives to educate the world on climate reality and global warming crisis.
I actually commend this guy right now, because I know how hard it is to change a diet, and this guy is eating a vegan lunch right now from South America. Thank you, Fernando, for doing that.
Now, we also have an educator who travels around the world. He spent 10 years working with children, educating them on climate crisis and environmental issues. Now, this guy right
you
take this one.
Okay, well, this guy, Luca, when he was 8 years old, started a small organization at Yard 1 to help create awareness for environment and wildlife conservation. 8 years old. I was not doing that at 8 years old.
No, he is very impressive.
He's my new superhero.
Now, we also have someone who is watching 24 Hours of Reality because they want to see how much progress we're making together. And it's true, we're making so much progress. And I also want to know why you're watching 24 Hours of Reality as well.
Definitely.
So send in the tweets, hashtag 24 Hours of Reality. We also have a girl named Caitlin, and she says, watching hashtag 24 Hours of Reality really made me want to learn how to get involved and make a difference. It's also helping with a school project. Well, Caitlin, first of all, I hope you get an A on that school project. And if not, I think we're to blame because you've been staying up watching this broadcast. However, I also hope that you've learned a lot throughout this broadcast as well.
Definitely.
And also, if you want some resources, check out Climate Reality Project online and also Climate Reality Project on social media as well. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you for bringing the voice.
Como presidente de Chile, Michelle Bachelet ha demostrado su compromiso en la lucha contra la crisis climática, liderando el camino para un futuro sostenible para su país y para toda la región. The President of Chile, Michelle Bachelet, joins former U.S. Vice President Al Gore via satellite.
Welcome, President Bachelet. It is such an honor for us to have you be a part of this program. Thank you for joining us.
Well, very happy to see you again, Mr. Gore, and to be part of this program.
Well, I want to tell you right off the bat that in the movie that I put out this year, I'm sure you've gotten some word of this, but the story of what you and your colleagues have done in expanding solar actually elicits loud cheers in the movie theaters all over the world. So what you have done is good for Chile, obviously, and really amazing. But what you have done has also provided a lot of inspiration for all of us who really believe that we can solve this climate crisis, and you're helping to lead the way. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you so much for that recognition, and I have to tell you that we have shown your documentary in many places, and in the following days we will go to many, if I would say, places where a lot of normal, simple people live to, you know, improve the awareness of the importance of fighting climate change, and not only at the governmental level, but at local level too.
Well, that's wonderful. Now, I want to come back to the story of how you have accomplished this ongoing transition. But I want to begin by asking you a couple of questions about the impacts of the climate crisis in Chile. I express condolences to those who have been hurt, have lost their lives and properties. But I've been following it carefully, and you've had some really horrible fires, and you've lost many lives and structures, and you've had flooding and storms and other events. How have the people of your country reacted to and interpreted these impacts that the scientists tell us are connected to the climate crisis?
Well, I think it has increased the awareness that climate change is a reality, that we need to fight against it, and that we need to work all together, because we have really suffered a lot from the most damaging forest fires historically, the most damaging floodings, and some other issues that I'm not sure I can ensure that are completely linked to climate change, but it might be linked to global warming in terms of so many and so strong earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes, eruption, and so on. And of course, a terrible drought for more than 5 years. So people have been living this. We have had to work with them to make them able to start again their lives, their cities. So people are more aware. And let me tell you just one example. There was a survey the other day where people asked, where they were asked what importance they would give to climate change or to the economy, for example. And to my surprise, the majority said that combating climate change was much more important. It's not that they don't understand the importance of economy, but they say that climate change combat was so important and much more important even than the economy.
Well, that's fascinating.
I think we need to do both to improve the economy, but in a sustainable way.
I have been to quite a few countries around the world, and just in the last couple of years, I have found this same poll finding that in quite a few places, the climate crisis is now ranked higher than the economy. I'm actually surprised by that, not totally, but I did want to mention just in passing that I agree with you that it's appropriate to be doubtful about any linkage between earthquakes and tsunamis and climate. Most scientists say no, that's not the case. There are some very rare examples of how melting ice in some regions can be connected, but typically not. So I want, first of all, before I go into the solar story, I remember coming to accept your invitation some years ago in Santiago when I gave a slideshow. It was in the first time you were president of Chile, and you had organized this massive gathering. It was one of the biggest crowds I'd ever spoken to, and gave my slideshow about the climate crisis. And then after serving as president, in accordance with your constitution, you then were out of office for a while, and then you came back as president a second time, correct? And when you came back, I got the feeling that you came back with a determination to do something about the transition to renewable energy. How did you unleash this remarkable, dramatic expansion of solar power in Chile? How did you do it?
Well, when I came back and in the campaign, I understood that Chile had the most, on one hand, expensive and, if I may say, dirty energy matrix. So we decided that if I was elected president, we will do an agenda that will permit to improve much more renewables, that will also make the energy costs for the people, for the industries, lower. And that meant that, and how we do it, we built an agenda in a participative way where we invited the ecological groups, the industries, the experts, the academics, and we developed an agenda to 2030 where we could make a lot of different areas that we could improve the capacity in Chile of renewables. And of course, and to limit and restrict also the fossil energy. And it has been extraordinary. And you showed the figures some minutes ago and how in solar power it has increased dramatically, also in wind power. But also just this year, we inaugurated the first in South America geothermic energy power.
Yes, I saw that.
And I think it has been, on one hand, so we have improved our capacities. On the other hand, we have created a new sort of sector of the industry that has been very successful. And third, we have created jobs. So, and of course, we have made our economy more sustainable and more friendly to the environment. So I think everybody wins, and this is a very good solution. But it was also very important to build this agenda with I would say, with the participation of many different actors, so we could know which way we should go. So it would be, we could achieve good results.
Yes, when I hear you say it was important to build the agenda, I hear you say it was important to build a consensus in all sectors in support of the agenda, and that takes great political skill because you've put in place a carbon tax, correct?
Yes. We did that because in 2014 we made a tax reform. In 2014 we made a tax reform that had different objectives. It has the objective to have a tax system that was more, if I would say, just, more equitable. On the other hand, the system, the tax reform intended that some issues that were very important for Chile, like the educational reform, had enough resources and in a sustainable way, not just for 1 or 2 years. And then we included green taxes and the carbon tax. So what happens then, the tax reform was approved, but afterwards, I would say many electricity industries have decided on new projects not to go to carbon energy, but to change to renewables. I think it has been a very good, important thing.
Yes, that is considered in many countries a very difficult task. There are people, very respected people in both political parties here in the U.S. who advocate a carbon tax here to encourage a more rapid shift to renewables, and also we could reduce other taxes if we had a carbon tax, but it's very difficult. Is there any secret that you could give us about how you were able to diminish the opposition to the carbon tax? Did you speak to them in poetry? Did you have some magic tricks involved? It seems so difficult here. I'm joking, of course, but I'm actually serious in asking if you can give us advice in the U.S. about anything that you found to be helpful in implementing this and getting a consensus.
Well, I don't know if I can give you any recommendations, really, because Chile's reality is different than the U.S. But I think that the idea of working together with the industry and creating incentives so they can understand that green economy or blue economy is not necessarily that they are losing, or there can be also new, I would say, possibilities in the economy. But also to try to build consensus, because on the other hand, what many of these industries have been, I would say, having is a lot of problems with the citizens when they wanted to develop a carbon plant. So I think there has been, on one hand, the need to resolve a problem that they had, because the citizens will get them to the justice system to try to stop the building of these plants. And on the other hand, to understand that they could move to another area and that it could be also rentable for them.
Well, I hope that our policy experts here really conduct a careful study of what you did. I understand, of course, Chile is very, very different, but I admire your leadership really and truly. In the U.S., we actually subsidize carbon-based energy at a rate 26 times larger than the small subsidies for solar and wind. It's the exact wrong policy. And worldwide, that's fairly common to have big subsidies for carbon-based fuels. But moving on, you have also made a commitment to promote energy efficiency and to restore your forests, and you have established a new Presidential Climate Change Advisory Commission. Could you tell us briefly about those policies?
Yeah, well, on the Presidential Commission, the idea was how we combat climate change and how we ensure the future of the planet cannot depend on one particular government's determination. It should have to be a state vision. So that's why we create this commission. That is a permanent commission. It's not a commission only of this government. It's a state commission, if I may say.
Right.
And we included there people with different perspectives, with representing different political forces, from people from the academia, from the industry, from NGOs, environmental NGOs, and so on. And we asked them very specific tasks to give recommendations on how to continue fighting climate change so we can contribute to Chile's future, but also to the planet. On the other hand, on forestry, we have had some, on the NDCs, according to the Paris Agreement, we defined that we would forest 100,000 trees, and we will work also on degradation of forests. But we also are giving some incentives, because Chile has a particularity in a particular situation on forestry, because if I would say, we plant more trees than the ones that we cut every year. So in our case, forestry is a place where we are really being a sink for CO2 emissions.
Well, I have so many questions. I want to come to Chile and learn from you directly. We have run out of time, but I do want to close by thanking you again for doing us the honor of being a part of this program. And I want to say that as far as I'm concerned, you really are a hero for the planet. You have provided the kind of inspiration that we really need, and the kind of very careful, workmanlike leadership to bring people together in support of good policies. So Muchísimas gracias. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for being a part of our 24 hours of reality.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gore. And just let me say one final word. Chile is not a rich country, and we have been able to do a lot of things. So it shows that not only we must do it, we can do it, and we should do it, and we will do it. And you don't need to be a rich country to make all the things like conservation and protecting our planet.
Brava. Gracias.
Absolutamente. Cada hora los hemos llevado a conocer las soluciones que ya se están implementando alrededor del mundo. Son las historias de individuos o grupos que están tomando acción a nivel personal, en sus negocios, en sus trabajos, en sus comunidades, en la política y están teniendo un gran impacto. Cuando una nación entera se compromete a desarrollar energía renovable, grandes cosas pasan. Y este es el caso de Chile, donde una revolución solar está cambiándolo todo, incluyendo el transporte público.
Around the world, everyday people are stepping up, speaking out and fighting the climate crisis like our world depends on it. Because it does. Every voice makes a difference. These are the voices of change, the voices of the future, the voices of reality.
Hoy día Chile está viviendo una transición energética, está cambiando su matriz y está siendo cada vez más renovable utilizando estas fuentes de energía y este potencial que tenemos. Pocos países que tienen sol, viento, agua, geotermia, distintas fuentes que son con un gran potencial para generar electricidad. En el norte de nuestro país tenemos los niveles de radiación más altos del mundo. Estamos viviendo en Chile una revolución solar. Las inversiones en el sector de energía solar han sido, la verdad, muy importantes y han crecido mucho durante los últimos años. En Chile existen hoy día aproximadamente 70 plantas solares en operación. Por lo tanto, sinceramente creemos que estamos teniendo un sello y por lo tanto probablemente la Araya Sobrito Solar es un buen título para vivir y describir lo que está viviendo Chile en ese sentido. En Chile tenemos la oferta, tenemos la posibilidad en consecuencia de conectarnos con quienes quieran comprar esa energía, grandes compañías como el metro de la región metropolitana.
El Metro de Santiago es el principal medio de transporte de la región metropolitana. Nosotros ocupamos hoy día como 110 megas de potencia. Por tanto, somos un consumidor muy importante. Hoy día la red de metro tiene 103 kilómetros y 108 estaciones. Y estamos construyendo más metros. Diariamente, en un día laboral normal, transportamos aproximadamente 2,5 millones de pasajeros. Yo creo que el nivel de congestión que tiene la ciudad en la hora punta sería absolutamente insostenible si no tuviéramos la red de metro que tenemos hoy día.
Lo ocupo todos los días, el metro es mi medio de transporte habitual.
Creo que es bastante importante, ya que, como podemos ver, de la simple vista se puede ver que hay mucha contaminación atmosférica y es necesario reducir los índices mediante medidas que apoyen al transporte público.
Pero en la región metropolitana, después de la disputa de Las Condes, viene el metro, como el tamaño. El metro tenía unos contratos de largo plazo que vencieron en el año 2011, 2012. El mercado eléctrico en el país estaba bastante inestable. Entonces, el metro que buscaba abastecimiento de largo plazo, buscaba un precio razonable y buscaba adicionalmente tener una estabilidad en el precio. Y con eso el metro firmó 2 contratos de largo plazo, por 15 años cada uno. Uno con una central fotovoltaica que se llama El Pelícano, que está en la región de Atacama, y otro con un parque eólico que se llama San Juan de Aceituno, que también está en la región de Atacama. La central fotovoltaica, estos 110 megas que produce la central, los va a ocupar completos en el metro.
Yo no sabía que el metro iba a ser energía renovable. Me parece una muy buena idea porque así va a ayudar al medio ambiente y va a ayudar a una forma a que Santiago avance tecnológicamente también.
Creo que el uso de energía renovable en el sistema de transporte subterráneo, en el metro, es algo excelente.
Un 76% del total de energía que consume el metro viene de energías renovables no convencionales. Este 76% de energía renovable no convencional es equivalente a una reducción en emisiones de CO2 equivalente a plantar 9.600.000 árboles. Ese es el tamaño de lo que estamos hablando. Y eso tiene un impacto directo sobre la calidad de vida de la gente.
Nosotros en Chile tenemos una visión común donde compartimos sector público, privado, sociedad civil, la academia, que Chile tiene una vocación renovable.
These are the voices of change, the voices of the future, the voices of reality.
Nuestro siguiente invitado es el exministro de Medio Ambiente del Perú. Él es hoy el director de Clima y Energía para la WWF. Bienvenido, Manuel Pulgar Vidal, quien nos acompaña vía satélite desde Berlín. Muchísimas gracias por estar con nosotros.
No, muchas gracias a ti, Vanessa, y a todos los que nos ven y nos escuchan.
Gracias, señor Pulgar. Primero que todo, quería preguntarle, usted estuvo frente a las conversaciones de las Naciones Unidas durante la COP20, que fueron claves para el Acuerdo de París en el 2015. ¿Cómo logramos que los nuevos líderes continúen comprometidos con estos compromisos de París?
Yo creo, Vanessa, entendiendo dos o tres cosas. Lo primero es que estas discusiones y estos debates y estas negociaciones avanzan cuando tenemos mucha información de la ciencia y a su vez tenemos mucha evidencia. Y hoy día la evidencia nos obliga a incrementar la ambición y actuar con más urgencia. Pero a su vez cuando vemos mucha voluntad política, el respaldo político es un elemento central y en estos momentos donde tenemos algo más de incertidumbre política, eso es algo que debe reforzarse y felizmente hay nuevos liderazgos o tenemos programas como este que lo que están diciéndole a los políticos es tenemos que seguir moviendo la agenda. A su vez necesitamos evidencias financieras y evidencias financieras no solamente son flujo de dinero, sino a su vez mostrar que actuar con responsabilidad climática es fundamental para el mundo de los negocios y para el mundo de las economías nacionales y generando más conciencia pública. Eso es un elemento central. Y lo segundo, Vanessa, es hemos hecho mucho para definir lo que yo diría el gran marco del cambio del paradigma, en especial con el Acuerdo de París, pero también con los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible. Y ahora, ¿qué viene? La implementación. Este es el momento de la implementación e implementar significa que los estados deben ser conscientes que deben no solamente cumplir con lo que ya ofrecieron, sino incluso hacerlo mejor y que el sector privado y el sector de la sociedad civil tiene que actuar, tiene que organizarse sectorialmente, definir hojas de ruta y metas claras que deben ser cumplidas.
Así es, señor Pulgar. ¿Cómo su trabajo actual con la WWF aporta a la búsqueda de soluciones de esta crisis climática?
Yo creo que de distintas maneras. En primer lugar, trabajamos muy activamente, como en la última COP23, en el tema de las negociaciones, intentando que en este proceso de implementación del Acuerdo de París logremos que se definan estas reglas específicas que van a llegar a que esto se pueda materializar. Se obtuvo felizmente en esta COP lo que se denomina el diálogo de Talanoa, que en realidad es un proceso a partir del cual los estados van a poner en la mesa qué tanto vienen cumpliendo y qué nuevas acciones van a plantear para incrementar la ambición. Ese es el lado político. Pero a su vez, Vanessa, nosotros estamos 100% convencidos que el involucramiento de los actores no estatales es central. Acabamos de escuchar lo que está pasando en Chile con el precio al carbón, pero a su vez lo que ha pasado con el transporte y lo que está pasando con las ciudades sostenibles y lo que viene pasando con la construcción y con un conjunto de sectores que ya movilizaron acción climática, aunque siempre falta hacer más, y en eso WWF cree firmemente. Lo tercero es la movilización ciudadana. En la última demostración o marcha que hubo con ocasión de la COP23, habían 25.000 ciudadanos diciéndole al mundo: paremos ya de producir energía con fuentes de carbón. El carbón tiene que salir de nuestra economía. Y lo cuarto, que es lo que está pasando en los Estados Unidos con esta campaña de actores no estatales que dicen, sin perjuicio de decisiones políticas que están equivocadas, nosotros los actores no estatales somos capaces de movilizarnos. En WWF estamos trabajando en esos 4 frentes muy activamente, apoyando al sistema de Naciones Unidas, pero también apoyando a los países y apoyando a organizaciones de la sociedad civil que sigan acelerando y agilizando acción climática como una manera de cerrar la brecha que todavía tenemos.
Definitivamente se necesita de todos los actores y de la participación de todos. Sé que usted conoce muy bien el impacto que pueden tener los ciudadanos. ¿Qué le diría usted, señor Pulgar, a las personas que piensan que de pronto la acción de una sola persona no tiene un impacto?
Toda acción de cada ciudadano tiene un gran impacto, porque finalmente cuando partimos del concepto cambio climático que tiene causa humana, significa que es nuestros hábitos, nuestros patrones de consumo, nuestros patrones de comportamientos los que han originado el problema. Por lo tanto, la solución solamente puede venir de nuestras propias manos, y no solo manos colectivas, manos individuales a su vez, haciendo un uso más eficiente de la energía, trabajando mejor el manejo de nuestros propios residuos y minimizándolos, eliminando prácticas que son altamente contaminantes, y eso un ciudadano se lo puede proponer y fácilmente hacerlo. Por lo tanto, las campañas de sensibilización ciudadana bajo un título "pon de tu parte", si tenemos un problema de relación con el planeta, esa mejora en nuestro relacionamiento va a ser poniendo de nuestra parte. Por lo tanto, mi mensaje a los ciudadanos es: pongan de su parte uno a uno, porque vamos a generar un cambio transformacional, que es lo que se necesita.
Por último, señor Pulgar, rápidamente, en el 2015 Perú fue el primer país latinoamericano en anunciar su plan de acción climático, y con esto pues abrió el camino para los otros países. ¿Cómo va la región en este tema y cómo van los compromisos de Perú?
Yo creo que se va avanzando. Creo, Vanessa, que lo que es fundamental reconocer es esos planes hay que monitorearlos y ver que se vayan cumpliendo. Y países como Perú han creado una comisión multisectorial al más alto nivel ministerial, lo que es un avance para verificar que se cumpla este plan climático. Tenemos otros casos como Argentina, que ha entrado en un proceso no solamente de verificar, sino de mejorar su plan de acción climática. Y muchos países de la región están trabajando en ese sentido. Pero todavía nos hace falta. No podemos, en este caso, quedarnos solamente contemplando lo que ya ofrecimos. Hay que mejorar lo que planteamos, porque la única manera de cerrar la brecha y cumplir con la promesa de París, Vanessa, que es hay que cumplir con la promesa de París, es incrementando acción climática y elevando la ambición para cortar emisiones.
Así es, y nos lo han dicho una y otra vez los científicos, que no es suficiente con el plan actual, que debemos todavía incrementar este compromiso. Muchísimas gracias, señor Pulgar, por su compromiso y su presencia hoy aquí con nosotros. Muchas gracias.
No, a ti, y gracias a todos los ciudadanos por su costa.
ya se ha roto en llanto gris, la mar vomita ríos de aceite sin cesar. Y hoy me pregunté, después de tanta destrucción, ¿dónde diablos jugarán los pobres niños? ¡Hey! Ay, 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 ¿en dónde jugarán? Se está quemando el mundo, ya no hay lugar. ¿Dónde diablos jugarán? ¡Hey! Los pobres nenes. Se está quemando el mundo, ya no hay lugar. No, no, no hay lugar. No, no, no hay lugar, no, no. No hay lugar en este mundo. Se está quemando este mundo. Y yo me hundo en soledad. Y yo me hundo en soledad. Y yo me hundo en soledad.
Courtney Sical hace parte de Your Shot, una comunidad mundial en línea de la National Geographic. Ella es una fotógrafa, ambientalista, antropóloga y candidata de PhD de la Universidad de UCLA, donde enseña antropología y fotografía. Ahora nos acompaña desde Los Ángeles vía satélite para hablarnos de su trabajo documentando el impacto de la crisis climática en los Andes peruanos con Jamil Smith.
Courtney, I want to ask you first, what motivated you to get involved in climate action?
Sure. I had actually been working in the Peruvian Andes for some time, and finally just seeing the effects of glaciers melting on local communities became really compelling, and I felt like I didn't have a choice.
Can you talk a little bit about the photo documentary work that you did, specifically the one where you captured the impact of the climate crisis in the Peruvian Andes?
Sure. So the photo that I'm thinking of is one that demonstrates the incredible effects of melt, but also the way that people work in these regions to help sort of combat these problems.
Mm-hmm.
I had been working in the Andes for a couple of years at this time, and one of my major interests was the people who go up into these high altitude spaces, above 15,000 feet up to 23,000 feet, which is really difficult to exist in, and they collect this information in order to help prepare the region for all of the effects of melt.
One other photograph.
So that's what these photos grew out of.
Oh, okay. One other photo I'm thinking about actually was this made a big impact on me when I saw it. It's a bag of dirty water in which the end result is a melted snow that's collected from the glacier. Can you explain why the water in that photo was black instead of clear?
I can, yes. So what typically happens is these workers go up to the tops of amazing peaks, and then they collect snow samples and put them into bags in order to be processed later. And what they're looking for is trying to see if black carbon is coating these glaciers. And now black carbon is caused by the burning of fossil fuels, but also things such as agricultural fires and forest fires. And so when the water is really dirty, which we found that it was, that means that it's very black carbon rich. And so what happens is when the black carbon coats the glaciers, it leads to further melt, and it melts a lot quicker that way. There was a scientist that told me that we probably have around 20 more years of glacial vitality if we just could eliminate black carbon in the region.
Well, then how would the decrease in black carbon slow down melt on the glacier?
So what ends up happening is because the particles are so much darker than the glacier surface, they end up trapping heat. And then as they trap heat, they melt quicker. And so if you could eliminate the production of black carbon, then you wouldn't find these particles on the glacier. And so then the light would be able to refract differently, and then it would probably have a longer lifespan.
I want to ask you about one specific glacier that you photographed, the Yanapacha. Can you describe what we're seeing in the images that you photographed?
Yeah, definitely. So Yanapacha is a commonly visited glacier, both by tourists but also by scientists. And one of the things that you'll notice on Yanapacha is that the crevasse fields during certain times of the year are incredibly dangerous looking. And so some of this is just normal patterns, but you'll also find that instead of being covered in their usual seasonal snow, they're more exposed than they've ever been. So even after an El Nino year, when they're supposed to be getting more snow than ever, it really wasn't as great as we were hoping for. And so part of the problem is seeing that these glaciers are getting more and more exposure, are being covered in more and more pollution particles, and it's affecting their vitality.
Now, you captured meltwater from high-altitude glaciers that has created a bright, aquamarine colored pool. Now, as beautiful as that is, meltwater is also considered a threat. Can you talk a little bit about why?
Definitely. So as gorgeous as it is, these pools are growing over full with meltwater from these glaciers that are melting very rapidly. So then you have these massive lakes that are existing at these really high altitude places that typically didn't have lakes before. And then right below there, you have homes and towns and entire cities. So the danger that's being created right now is that these glacier lakes might actually burst and flood into towns below. And so one of the most dangerous lakes right now has the potential to actually kill over 100,000 people if it were to flood. And so these threats are growing more and more every single day. And there are new lakes, the lakes are growing. There have been hundreds of new lakes just in the last few decades. And so with each one comes new and greater risks.
Now, with your work, how do you feel like that's impacting people's knowledge of the climate crisis?
Sure. So I have two works that I really focus on. There's my photography, where I really try to engage with people who would probably have a hard time even imagining what a place like this would look like. And so I really want to convey, like, what it looks like when melt happens, and sort of the lives of people who are willing to risk everything, their well-being, their bodies, to go into these places and bravely try to understand what's taking place. And then my anthropology work is trying to do something very similar, just engaging with different audiences.
So can you talk about some of the biggest impacts the people there have experienced? You mentioned that lakes could overflow and flood towns. What are some of the other impacts that make people vulnerable to the changes that are happening?
Sure. So in just the year and a half that I've spent, this last year and a half in Peru, there were a series of disasters that took place, some of them bigger and smaller. The rains arrived late that year, months and months late, so people were unable to plant seeds in the proper time and the ground dried up. Because it was so dry and unseasonably dry, there were also a series of fires that ended up killing a couple children and destroying livestock and crops. And then the response to that was, when the rain finally did arrive, there were these massive floods, which we saw pictures of just a few moments ago, where over 90 people died and infrastructure was destroyed across the country. And so there is this slow melting glacier problem, but in the meantime, we have all of these sort of punctuated moments of really, really potentially terrible things that could take place in Peru because of climate change.
Well, thank you very much, photographer Courtney Seacal, for your work and for joining us today. Now, for those of you interested in learning more about your shot, You can find it at natgeoyourshot.com. Thank you, and back to Vanessa.
Thank you, Jamil. Durante esta última hora hemos conocido cuáles son los retos que enfrentan los suramericanos y los esfuerzos de mucha gente que está tomando acción para crear un futuro sostenible para todos. Recuerda, el guerrero más poderoso en esta crisis climática eres tú. Hay muchas formas en las que puedes hacer la diferencia, en la política, en nuestros trabajos, en nuestras comunidades y en el día a día de nuestras vidas. Visítanos en 24hoursofreality.org. Allí encontrarás las herramientas para aprender cómo tú también puedes ser la voz de la realidad.
Hi, I'm Annie Lennox, and I am a voice of reality. Let your voice be heard at 24hoursofreality.org.
Climate change is our biggest challenge yet. The world's getting warmer, seas are rising, and our weather is getting more and more dangerous. Our planet's future is in our hands. We must and can act and lead the fight to a clean energy future. All across the planet, climate reality leaders are doing just that. They're inspiring people to stand up and take action when it matters. You can join them, become a climate reality leader, and learn what it means to lead a world-changing movement. You'll train with former Vice President Al Gore and some of the best scientists and influencers out there. You'll learn the latest on climate science and solutions, and learn how to share it with a message that moves audiences to act. You want to make a difference? Become the world changer you know you can be. Become a climate reality leader.
Reality. Be the voice of change, the voice of the future. Let your voice be the voice of reality. We have the technology. We know the solutions. A global agreement is in place. It's now time to use your voice in the fight against the climate crisis. Join us for a journey around the globe as we focus on businesses, leaders, artists, and everyday people who are stepping up, speaking out, and fighting like our world depends on it. Because it does. This is 24 Hours of Reality. You too can be the voice of change, the voice of the future. Let your voice be the voice of reality.
Hi and welcome. I'm Sam Champion. Hour 24. I got to tell you, this is amazing. Thank you for joining us for 24 Hours of Reality, and I can promise you a very big finish is waiting for you. Be the voice of reality. The signing of the Paris Agreement 2 years ago made it crystal clear. People all over the world understand the urgency of the climate crisis, and our leaders need to stay committed to fighting it. While real progress is being made, more has to be done, and even faster in order to limit the worst effects. We have to find our voice on the climate issue and fight for action. And we've been talking about it now for 24 hours, and I think you've got it. For the past 23 hours, former Vice President of the United States and founder of the Climate Reality Project, Al Gore, has led the way around the globe. We've been focusing on the powerful ways activists are speaking up to empower and change entire communities, and shining a light on places where more climate voices actually need to be heard. For the last hour, this last hour, we'll be live from our home base right here in New York City, the Bridge at Cornell Tech, which is one of the most environmentally friendly and energy-efficient campuses in the world. It's our perfect home. And for our final hour, that's right, our final hour, we'll hear some of the powerful climate voices here in the United States. Now, please join me in welcoming the Senior Vice President of the Hip Hop Caucus and former Chief Environmental Justice Officer of the EPA, Mustafa Ali, who joins former Vice President Al Gore via satellite from Washington, D.C.
Thank you, Sam. Mustafa Ali, thank you so much for joining us by means of satellite. I'm looking forward to our conversation. We've been here, as you might have gathered, for 24 straight hours, and I'm going to give a wrap-up slideshow and closing statement at the end of this hour. We've got an action-packed hour, but this is the last interview I'm doing, and I wanted to do it with you because I respect you, but also because I want to really highlight the environmental justice dimensions of this issue. And you've been involved with environmental justice practically your entire career at a senior position at EPA when the environmental justice movement there was just getting organized and established. I'd worked with John Lewis back when I was in the Senate, and then as VP, had an opportunity to see the good work that you did. But I want to start at the beginning. You grew up in coal country in West Virginia, didn't you?
Yes, sir, I definitely did.
So you saw firsthand some of the reality of the problems that low-income families faced with environmental issues have to deal with, correct?
Yeah, you know, everything from mountaintop mining to the pollution that came from that process of some of the waterways and then, you know, some of the rare diseases that also came, you know, cancers, liver, kidney diseases, all kinds of different things that were a part of the pollution from those extractive processes. And then also the dynamic that began when people started to lose hope because of some of the things that they were facing. And that's why it's so important that we began to move forward away from fossil fuels, but also making sure that we're focusing on a just transition for those who, you know, for decades have been working in those industries and you know, just trying to take care of their families. We've got to provide them with new opportunities. So I've seen it from the beginning.
So one other personal question, just so we can kind of triangulate on you. I know you, and probably a number of people in our audience know you, but for those who don't, one other personal question. You went from this senior position at EPA working on environmental justice to a senior position at the Hip Hop Caucus. And so naturally that stimulates the question, how do you compare and contrast, and how do you continue to pursue this issue that you're so passionate about from those two very different platforms? Maybe I'm wrong, but they sure seem like different platforms to me.
Well, yeah, you know, it's a little different, but the work has always got to be grounded in the community. I was super blessed to grow up as a student in the environmental justice movement and to be mentored and sort of taught from those fantastic early leaders. And the work there at the Environmental Protection Agency around environmental justice was actually grounded in recommendations that came from environmental justice leaders and networks. And then transitioning to the Hip Hop Caucus, for me, just made sense because young people have to play a significant role in the direction that we're going. Culture has to play a significant role. You know, when you have artists and entertainers who begin to share not only their commitment to these issues, but to actually utilize their craft and to make sure that that is reaching the masses, actually reaching around the globe, that's a powerful platform to be at. And then the other component of it is the Respect My Vote campaign and understanding that our vote has power and that we should make sure that we have individuals who care about our communities, who care about our planet, and then that can translate into real change. So being being at the Hip Hop Caucus, being surrounded by so many young and talented individuals just made sense. And it's actually what I call the 21st century paradigm, where culture is a driver. When you look at folks like Beyonce speaking out about climate change when we had the hurricanes that came through Houston, Texas, when you have folks like Vic Mensa, or Chance the Rapper, so many other incredible folks, Antonique Smith, utilizing their gift to be able to, tell the story. That's powerful.
Yeah, well, it actually does make perfect sense. Now, to dig in on the substance of this environmental issue, I'm going to give you my shorthand understanding of this, and I want you to correct me with any tweaks or major changes. So basically, Pope Francis, who I admire so greatly, said in his encyclical that it's always, I'm paraphrasing now, it's always the poor people and the disadvantaged people who get hit the hardest and get hit the first by environmental damages that are done. And that's true whether it's the climate crisis and all of its manifestations, like the hurricane that hit Houston so hard. It's true with mountaintop mining. It's true with waste disposal. And one reason is it just is basic common sense that people with less economic power, less political influence, people of color who may frequently be disadvantaged socially in some majority communities, if you have less of an ability to defend yourself against some of these things that common sense tells you are going to cause problems, then those that have more wealth, more influence, more ability to protect themselves, they're going to be able to move someplace out of the path of the downstream smokestack, away from the hazardous waste site that may seep into the groundwater, away from the floodplain that's going to get subject to repeated flooding when hurricanes come. And as a result, you get these incredible injustices that compound the damages done by the environmental insults. That's basically the issue, or correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I think you're spot on there. In many instances, we've created these sacrifice zones. And what happens is, when we talk about environmental justice, when we talk about climate, it's a double whammy for many of these communities. In the Manchester community in Houston, Texas, they are surrounded by petrochemical facilities. You can literally stand on people's back porches and reach out and touch the facility. You can touch the piping in the facility. So, they're getting impacted by the emissions that are coming out on their own personal health. And then, of course, those are warming up the planet. Then the storms come back through because of, the more intense storms that are coming because of climate change, and then they get hit again. And then once those storms are gone, then, the plants start back up. They put more emissions into the community. And then, it's difficult also for folks to be able to recover if they are able to come back, rebuild their homes when the floods come. So there's a double whammy that happens. And that's why it's so important for us to have authentic collaborative partnerships in place where folks understand these injustices that are happening, but also that there is a path forward, that we can win on these issues if we're willing to honor, the voices and the expertise that exist inside of communities, and to match that up with the expertise that exists in other elements of the climate and environmental justice movement.
Well, now, in a self-government that has a commitment to justice and fairness and that cares about people, you would expect there to be laws passed, regulations put out that would correct for some of these disadvantages. And we've seen that. We did it in the Clinton-Gore administration, that you were where you were in the EPA during that time also. But now, if we have a government that, for whatever reason, cares a lot less about those kinds of things and cares a lot more about absolutely avoiding any kind of difficulty or inconvenience for the people that own the place that's putting out the pollution, then you can't rely on the government, can't rely on the democracy during those years to help you out. What can people do in a situation like that? That's the situation we're in right now, right? So what can people do in that kind of situation?
Well, I think you're seeing, because there's so much egregious behavior that's going on the federal level. And let me say that we should always be holding the federal family accountable for what they're supposed to be doing, protecting public health and the environment. But, there's a number of other things that are going on. Today in Chicago, and I just came from Chicago, you have the Chicago climate agreement that was signed. You had all of these mayors and cities representing millions and millions of people coming together and saying, if, our current administration is going to pull out, we're going to, stay in and we're going to do the right things. You have foundations that are beginning to shift their portfolios. So many folks are coming together and saying that if they won't act, we will. And we will make sure that we're moving in the right direction.
Right, and that is a very welcome movement. And I was in Germany at the UN meeting last month, and I was there with governors and mayors and business leaders. And, the We're Still In movement, hashtag We Got This, that's extremely important. But what about these environmental problems that people are dealing with every day? I don't know how to ask the question, Mustafa. I know the answer is, early to bed, early to rise, work like hell and organize, and get people on your side and try to exercise the power of numbers and exercise some political influence. But what else have you learned about what can work for people, say in Appalachia, who are dealing with the repeal of these regulations that prevent the pollution of their streams and the mountaintop mining going on? What can they do?
Yeah, so, there are a number of different things that folks are doing. As I'm traveling around the country, and I've been in about 31, 32 cities in the last about 45, 46 days. So you've got folks who are really pushing hard on the local and the county and the state level, engaging there. You have folks who are also working with academic institutions, making sure that they are having information so that they can have a better understanding of what's going on. You've got folks who are also getting engaged in the political process and are running for office and supporting folks who have their best interest at heart. You also have folks who are starting small businesses around wind and solar and other types of renewables to do their part also. You have things like the HBCU Climate Change Initiative, where you have a number of historically black colleges who are utilizing the power of young people, and they're getting engaged in creating different types of opportunities, partnering with local communities and local organizations. That's happening as well. You have the Divest and Invest movement. That's also a student-led movement where they're pushing their educational institutions to do the right things in this space. And then you also have a number of communities who are also now focusing on revitalizing our most vulnerable communities. The Spartanburg example is a great one where they are linking up and making sure that we are creating jobs, addressing the healthcare issues that are going on, but also in the cleaning up of brownfields and Superfund sites, bringing solar farms into the mix so that they're lowering people's electricity cost, but at the same time also creating new economic opportunities as well. So folks are approaching this issue in a number of different ways and finding out that when they create these collaborative partnerships that are authentic and that where the voice of communities is a driver, then change is happening. And then you have resiliency things that are happening with organizations like Uprose in Brooklyn, New York, and WEAC in Harlem, and a number of other organizations around the country who are identifying the greatest challenges that they're finding, and then they are pulling partners in from faith-based work, from folks in philanthropic and so many other places, and we're finding that even though these larger sort of initiatives on the federal level are not moving forward in the same way, that when you get local And when you talk about environmental justice issues, or even when you talk about some of the impacts that are happening from climate, that you got to get local with the solutions and make sure that the voices of folks who are there are the drivers in that process.
Well, Mustafa, I could talk to you all day. I wish I could. They're telling me we've got a wrap. We're going into the final home stretch here. I just want to close by saying I admire your leadership on environmental justice, your commitment and passion, your stamina, your heart. You've got a tremendous amount of knowledge, and I'm so glad that you're out there working as hard as you are and providing this kind of leadership. Thank you for being a part of 24 Hours of Reality, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
I look forward to that, too, and thank you so much for your leadership on these issues over the years.
Thank you.
And we are in the final stretch, so I thought I'd change things up a little bit. I thought I'd come over to the very exciting and youthful social media corner.
The cool area.
The fun place. You get everything right here. These are the gentlemen who are completely in touch with you. If you've been talking to us, you've been talking to them. So, guys, what have they been saying the last hour?
Well, the social media presence in this broadcast has been unbelievable. I mean, we have been getting posts from all over the world nonstop.
China, Philippines, Korea, Europe, France.
U.S., Canada.
Everywhere.
Africa. It's been amazing. We've been blown away. And I actually want to introduce you to 3 people. Because whenever we're on stage, we have 3 producers that are looking at all of the posts that you've been posting on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and they've been going through all of them, and they've been seeing all of them, and we keep having these conversations about how amazed they are at the watch parties, the selfies, and the messages that you have for promoting good environmental deeds. So thank you guys so much. You guys are unbelievable. Tagboard has been amazing. They're the people behind this amazing technology that allows us to post everything online.
They consolidate every social media network out there, I think, pretty much, and then they let us all be able to see it at once.
They do, and you see how fast we post a selfie and it pops right up there. So we're still looking for tweets and Instagram posts and Facebook posts with hashtag 24 Hours of Reality, because as soon as we're off this broadcast, we are on our phones and we are retweeting, we're favoriting, we're also even following some of you as well.
Those are 2 hard-working gentlemen working for you. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our next musical guest, singing Spirit Cold. Please welcome Tall Heights.
How do I make my spirit cold? We always say when our history's told, if only we knew the things we know. There's a question ages old. Let me down easy, let me down slow. If all good things ever come and go, let me back down in the place I know. Hold the nail for the hammer stroke. This my trash, this my tone. there's a question ages old.
People all over the world have committed to raising their voices and becoming activists in the fight against the climate crisis. The Climate Reality Project's climate leaders have been personally trained in speaking out by former Vice President Al Gore and some of the world's leading scientists. So let's meet one exceptional young activist from the United States. Here's Haven Coleman.
When there's droughts, when there's floods, when there's big giant storms, it hurts people, it kills people. It's not right for people to have to die this way or live in these circumstances. I needed to help the people out there and the kids out there. Sometimes you feel like nobody else is listening, nobody else wants to help. All the pressure's on you. But actually, there's thousands of people fighting for this. Other countries, other citizens. We have to take this into our own hands.
Thanks. Are you ready for today?
Yes.
Are you ready to go talk to the utility board?
Yes.
Awesome. Are you a little nervous?
Yes.
We need to go over what you've written down so far and see if you need to add anything or take any away. They only give you 3 minutes. You got this. Just tell them how you feel. Tell them
what I feel like that they can do for the community. And then hopefully they'll take it into account.
Say it, and what's your favorite part about going and talking to them?
I like the adrenaline rush because it's just like you build up all this excitement or you're scared.
Your body tells you, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, but when you
hide, run,
do it,
go somewhere else.
This was the first time that you decided that you wanted to speak to your elected officials. And look how close you were to them, and you didn't seem nervous, but I mean.
I was freaking out, Mom.
Well, you did great.
Panic attack.
Look at all those people that were excited to hear you. Look how eager you were to get to speak. At this town hall, the assistant was picking who could ask a question.
I raised my hand high, and then they ignored me. I stood up, jumping up and down, waving my arms like a chicken, and they still ignored me. Then I climbed up to the front of the room and stared the guy down who was picking.
The assistant who was picking?
Yeah. I stared him down.
That's pretty bold.
I stared him down until he let me, and then
bold
he
and
wouldn't look at me
persistent,
again.
Yo! So many facts.
What about this one?
That'll work.
Use
I mean,
this.
it's positive. Positive is good.
Positive?
When it comes to encouraging the city council. Okay, start rehearsing.
Okay, I'm gonna start rehearsing. Think how much will be invested in by 2035.
Maybe describe it to them as you did me, and if you can, not look down at what you.
I'm trying my best.
I know, but if you can,
hard.
I know it is really stressful.
Us kids are just as much as the.
Remember, you can breathe. If you get tongue-tied, just stop and breathe.
I feel sort of small around adults. Going in front of the utilities board is sort of creepy because they're all staring at you, waiting for you to talk. I'm excited but nervous at the same time.
Hayden Coleman, come on down.
First, I wanted to thank you for adding more solar to our city's energy portfolio. Colorado Springs is moving in the right direction, but that makes me so excited. Let's keep moving in the right direction. Cities are leading the way on climate action. Let's be a part of this fast-moving revolution too. I feel passionate about finding creative ways to fix this problem for the kids in our community. Let's work together. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Hayden.
That went well.
Yes, it did. They were nodding, and I think they were agreeing to everything I said.
I think so too. Let's go get ice cream. Woo! You deserve it.
you're helping change the world and changing your community.
Become an expert on climate change to surprise adults of your awesomeness.
I feel like I have special powers because I can make a whole room go silent. And at school I can't do that, but at a utilities board I can. So it makes me feel magical.
You are magical, Haven. Okay, over the past several hours, we've had our eyes open to the urgency of the climate crisis and the importance of this movement just in time for all of us to use our voice. This global broadcast couldn't be possible without the tremendous support of our partners all around the world. Now, these organizations, governments, and businesses helped us amplify this message and add new voices calling for climate action right now. Thanks to them, we've been able to bring you this star-studded event to use our voices as if the future depends on it, because it does. And we'd also like to say thank you to our TV and digital distribution partners all around the world. So we've got something very exciting for you right now. With 14 exceptional artists coming together from 14 countries, Simon Fuller's Now United is the first ever global pop group. And now, I'm so pleased to be able to share their first ever television performance with this video filmed at the Dry Lake El Mirage in Barstow, California. Here it is.
It's Now United. Red one. Let's get it started. Let's go.
Hey, the city streets are burning up our feet as we running wild, as we running wild. Hey, just like the sun, we gonna blaze it up. California style, California style.
I know you feel it like I feel it. It's the right time.
We be everywhere we go.
Out the sunroof, we can catch a summer vibe.
Here with me, it's all a storm.
Turn it up and keep it popping for the whole night.
Going so hard, vertigo.
Just let it go and close your eyes, we'll be alright. Yeah, yeah.
Summer in the city, we be looking pretty, going at it all night. Summer in the city, singing to me, baby, do 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 do. Summer in the city, we be looking pretty underneath the sunlight. Tell me what you want, I know what you want. Summer in the city, we be looking pretty, going at it all night. Summer in the city, singing to me, baby, do 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 do. Summer in the city, we be looking pretty underneath the sunlight. Tell me what you want.
Just tell me what you want, girl.
I know what you want.
I know what you want, girl.
Hey, one thing is true, the summer has no rules. It's just how we
city, you'll be looking pretty, going at it all night. Somewhere in the city, sing it to me, baby. Do-do-do-do. Like do-do-do-do. Somewhere in the city, you'll be looking pretty underneath the sunlight. And tell me what you want. Just tell me what you want, girl. I know what you want. I know what you want, girl.
Somewhere in the city, we'll be looking pretty, going at it all night.
We be going at it all
Somewhere in the city, sing it to me, baby. Do-do-do-do. Sing it to me, somewhere in the city, we'll be looking pretty underneath the sunlight. Tell me what you want.
Just tell me what you want, girl.
I know what you want.
I know what you want, girl.
The climate crisis has hit home with devastating effect, disrupting people's lives and livelihoods everywhere. At the Climate Reality Project, we're empowering people across the planet to become powerful forces for change, fighting for climate solutions at every level of society. We train citizens to become climate reality leaders, dynamic activists who train and work with former U.S. Vice President Al Gore and field-leading experts to mobilize their communities for action. Around the world, our branch offices and local chapters bring climate reality leaders and concerned citizens into the fight for a sustainable future. Like in Brazil, where our activists pushed government leaders to ratify the Paris Agreement in the midst of political turmoil. Or in India, where grassroots efforts helped train 3,000 teachers on the climate crisis. Our 100% Committed campaign gives people a voice in their energy future, encouraging cities like Park City, Utah, and schools like Colorado State University to commit to 100% renewable electricity. And each year, our 24 Hours of Reality broadcast invites millions to join an all-star cast of musicians, celebrities, thought leaders, and more as we direct the world's attention to protecting the planet we all share. Today, as the United States begins a process to withdrawal from the historic Paris Climate Agreement, this work takes on heightened urgency. Now more than ever, we've got to fight like our world depends on it, because it does. Join us as we make our voices heard, as we demand that our leaders take action, and together, we'll make a bright and sustainable future a reality.
I wanna follow where she goes. I think about it and she knows it. I wanna let it take control. 'Cause every time that she gets close, yeah, she pulls me in enough to keep me guessing. Oh, and maybe I should stop and start confessing. Shaking, I love it when you go crazy. You take all my inhibitions. Baby, there's nothing holding me back. You take me places that tear up my reputation. Manipulate my decisions. Baby, there's nothing holding me back. There's nothing holding me back, yeah. She says that she's never afraid. Just picture everybody naked. She really doesn't like to wait. Not really into hesitation. Sing it out! Pulls me in crazy. You take all my inhibitions, baby. You take me places that tear up my reputation, manipulate my decisions, baby. There's nothing holding me back. There's nothing holding me back, yeah. Oh. Lost our minds and we took it way too far. I know we'd be alright. I know we would be alright if you were by my side. And we stumbled in the dark. I know we'd be alright. I know we sing it out. And if we took it way too far, I know we'd be alright. I know we would be alright if you were by my side. We stumbled in the dark. I know we'd be alright. I know we would be alright. Oh, I've been shaking. I love it when you go crazy. You take all my inhibitions, baby. There's nothing holding me back. You take me places that tear up my reputation, manipulate.
This is quickly becoming my favorite hour, and you're about to see why. Our next guest is well known for his role in the CBS drama Madam Secretary, great show, and The Sopranos, another great show. He's also the president of the Creative Coalition. Joining me right now in the studio is the actor and producer, Tim Daly. Tim, very nice to meet you.
So nice
Welcome
to meet
in.
you. Thank you.
We could go on and on with your acting career list. I mean, you know, we just go all the way back to Wings, I guess.
Well, if you get old enough, you know, there's a lot there, and you are lucky enough to hang on by your fingernails. So I'm going to keep going as long as I can. Hopefully that list will keep growing.
Well, people know you from this incredible acting career, but you're also very involved in the nonprofit world. You're the president of the Creative Coalition. So tell me a little bit about that organization and its mission.
Well, the Creative Coalition is primarily an arts advocacy organization, and our mission is to protect, promote, and defend the arts in the United States, and particularly arts education. And it's our belief that every person, every child is born with this incredible gift of an imagination and creativity, and that is like a muscle that needs to be exercised. And unfortunately, all too often, that muscle does not continue to get the workout that it needs in school. So it's our mission to make sure that children get arts in school so that their imaginations stay active. And this is not an organization that supports artists necessarily, but we believe that if human beings have an active imagination, they will do things like become more imaginative scientists and engineers that will help us solve the climate crisis. So that is what we do. We also use the power of our membership to shine light on issues of social importance, such as this.
So there are a lot of actors in the world. Some of these celebrities do get involved in activism. Can you tell me why that's important? Why is it important for someone who is in the public eye all the time to actually get out there and take a stand on social issues?
Well, I can't speak for anyone else, but I know that in my life I'd reached a point where I had a very successful career, I'd made some money, I had a beautiful family. Everything in my life was wonderful, and I thought that I would be risking getting, you know, some very bad karma if I didn't do something to give back. And when I found the Creative Coalition, I found a place where I felt that I had some expertise and some gravitas because I had been an artist my whole life. So arts advocacy has become my passion.
Now, social media has become a really powerful tool, and it's a way for people to reach out there into communities and to fans. Is it important for celebrities to be in social media right now? And if so, how would you tell them to use it?
Well, I would probably tell a lot of them not to use it because it gets a lot of people in trouble, and I think that you have to be very judicious about how you use it because there's no filter between you and your thumb, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning, as we've seen in various areas of our society right now. But I think that for me, if I'm going to use it, it's going to be to simply raise awareness about things that are important to me. And I don't expect anyone to necessarily listen to me more than anyone else, but I think the ratio of people that know what they're talking about and have a measured, intelligent take on what they're trying to say is about the same in any profession, whether you're a politician or an actor or a lawyer or a doctor or you know, a truck driver. So it's, I think, imperative that as you consume social media as a member of the public, that you have some judicious and thoughtful weeding out of things that are not true or not helpful. And let's kind of bring it into the climate crisis and talking about environment as well. What's the best way to get a message across? You know, you're a major star. Well, how do you get these ideas across to people? This is part of what we do in the Creative Coalition. You know, besides our mission to keep people's imaginations alive, we also know and understand that if you tell a story about something that is a pressing issue or a crisis like this climate crisis, and can put it into an emotional context, you'll be much more likely to get some traction and to motivate people to take action than if you give them a chart or a graph. I think most people are that way. If we know the stories of the people in Houston and Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands and the story of people who have been affected by the climate crisis, I think that it will be a call to action and it will you know, motivate people to become involved as citizens and in groups.
And I guess it's also simply the pure numbers, because when you make a statement, you have so many followers, people who are listening. So you can take a situation like Puerto Rico or like Houston, you can talk about it, and you get a huge audience.
Yes, and you know, I think that in some ways it's a grave responsibility, because you know that you might be reaching a lot of people. But in other ways, it's something that is called for, especially in times of crisis. You know, I think that the climate crisis in particular is something like the other big crises that we know about, that needs to be attacked from every angle, from the top down, the bottom up, and the sides in. So the more awareness that you can create about what's happening, I think the more activism you'll see, and the more people will understand that this is something that is not totally hopeless, something that they can affect, and something that is important for them, their children, and their grandchildren to be involved with.
Now, you've not shied away from getting involved politically as well. Can you tell us about that, and how you feel being political is can bring about change, really?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're in a very strange time politically, I think, and the mantra that I keep telling myself right now at this moment, and I would like to tell a lot of my friends, is don't become the thing you hate. Because I feel that a lot of people are getting into a place where no one is listening. And certainly if we listen to each other, it's the only way we're going to solve any of our problems. I think about, speaking of, you know, global crises where we think that mankind is going to come to an end. There's World War II, right? And I remember my parents telling me about my father was in the Navy, so he was fighting in the war. So was his sister, his brother, his other sister. My mother and her family were knitting scarves and saving pieces of aluminum foil. There was a concerted effort from the smallest thing to the largest thing to save the world from this crisis.
You're right.
And I think that if all of us do whatever we can, whether it's saving a piece of tinfoil or recycling a coffee cup, to making political policy, to making corporate policy, we all need to chip in and deal with this. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves in a crisis that is way worse than it already is.
You just did a light bulb thing for me. I think that's one of the best analogies. You're right. This country pulled together in that time of war. Everybody was working on solving that problem, and we could certainly do that today.
I think we could. You know, another example is I did a mini-series years ago called From the Earth to the Moon about the Apollo space program, right? And this was about getting a man on the moon when the entire scientific community of the United States was focused on this one problem. And we had a guy who was our technical advisor, a guy named Dave Scott, who was the guy that drove the little dune buggy on the moon. And he was so interesting to me. That part of the reason I got involved with the Creative Coalition, he said to me, and he was this sort of dry Midwestern guy who had been a fighter pilot, was kind of a heroic guy, and he would say things like, yeah, we were concerned when we realized we were 5 or 6 seconds away from reaching our biological limitations. And I was like, Dave, you mean dying? He's like, yeah, we don't like to say dying. You know, anyway, he said, you know, I think it's imperative that we send artists to the moon. And I said, why, Dave? And he said, because I know how profound a feeling it was, but I don't know how to express it so that millions of people can understand that profound feeling that I got. He said, I would love it if writers and actors and you know, painters would go and be able to express this thing that I felt.
Hour 24, and you've just done one of the best interviews I've had all day, because I tell you, you've just given me new energy, and I can't imagine what it's meant to the folks who are watching.
Well,
Tim Zelli, thank you very much.
Thank you,
I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure and very nice to meet you.
Thank
Although
you very
I've
much.
watched so much of you, I feel like I know you. Let's head back over to Caleb Worthy and see what you've been saying while we've been talking. Caleb?
Welcome back to the final segment of the social media section of 24 Hours of Reality. Now, we kind of wanted to go through the Hall of Fame of some of our
all-stars of the 24.
The all-stars.
Yes.
Some of our favorite posts that we've seen. We have Paris, who just got out of surgery but was up for the entire 24-hour broadcast.
Yes, and my favorite right here is Carol, who actually switched the shirt each time a different country came on to represent. That's awesome. Love that.
We also have a girl named Lily, who hosted her viewing party at her school at a climate change club that she actually created.
Great job, Lily. Seriously.
And we also have my new best friend on Twitter, Bobby. He also happens to be one of Al Gore's biggest fans.
I got to get one of those shirts.
We got to get those shirts for next year.
Definitely.
Now, just because this show is over, that doesn't mean the conversation has to end.
On the contrary, actually, the conversation is just beginning right now with you guys.
We're going to continue this dialogue on social media because we are dedicated to finding solutions to the climate crisis.
Amen. And along the way, there's a lot of people we want to thank. Without them, today would not be possible. So thank you to the Scientific American, GRIST, and EcoWatch.
We also want to thank Tagboard. We want to thank Christine. We want to thank Tyler, Michael, and everyone who made this technology happen.
Yes, and Catherine and Renee and the whole Artemis team, thank you guys so much. And Michael Shames.
Peter Green, and of course, the Climate Reality Project, Kimberlyn, and of course, our fearless leader and our hero, Al Gore. Thank you so much for having us for 24 Hours of Reality, and thank you so much for inspiring this movement.
谢谢大家支持，下次请来。
Now,
Kalen Van Ness, we thank you too. Thanks, guys. Very great work on the entire last 24 hours. And now for our final live musical performance. Once again, please welcome Tall Heights.
Thank you, Mr. President. Your decision today to exit the Paris Accord reflects your unflinching commitment to put America first. And by exiting, you're fulfilling yet one more campaign promise to the American people. Please know that I'm thankful for your fortitude, your courage, and your steadfastness as you serve and lead our country. America finally has a leader who answers only to the people, not to the special interests who've had their way for way too long. In everything you do, Mr. President, you're fighting for the forgotten men and women across this country. You're a champion for the hardworking citizens all across this land who just want a government that listens to them and represents their interests. You have promised to put America first in all you, and you've done that in any number of ways, from trade to national security to protecting our borders to right-sizing Washington, D.C. And today, you put America first with regard to international agreements and the environment. This is an historic restoration of American economic independence, one that will benefit the working class, the working poor, and working people of all stripes. With this action, you have declared that the people are rulers of this country once again. It should be noted that we as a nation do it better than anyone in the world in striking the balance between growing our economy, growing jobs, while also being a good steward of our environment. We owe no problem to other nations. Mr. President, it takes courage. It takes commitment to say no to the plaudits of men while doing what's right by the American people. You have that courage, and the American people can take comfort because you have their backs. Thank you, Mr. President.
And now, please join me in welcoming the man whose voice continues to lead the charge in educating and inspiring action in the climate crisis. It is my pleasure, and I mean that from my heart, to introduce the founder and chairman of the Climate Reality Project, former U.S. Vice President Al Gore.
Sam, thank you for going the distance with us. You're
for an amazing 24 hours. And people need to know that you are up and moving and running this thing the entire 24 hours.
Well, thank you for making it possible, my friend. Thank you so much. So this is the final closing slideshow. It's gonna be a little shorter even than the others, but after it, I'm going to have a closing statement. Before the closing statement, I'm gonna thank a lot of people that need to be thanked. But we went all the way around the world in this broadcast, each time zone, and we're back here in the Eastern time zone in the USA. And so we're going to close with a brief summary of the climate crisis as it impacts the United States of America. I want to start, as I have with all of these 24 slideshows, with the planet. What is at stake? And the three questions that are particularly important to address: must we change? Can we change? And will we change? On the first question, I always think it's important to make this point about the cost of carbon. We are actually seeing an unbelievable bill for the consequences of the carbon crisis, and we just cannot pay this kind of cost. It's also the #1 threat to the global economy, so we have really got to stop this. The answer to the first question, therefore, must we change, is definitely yes. So moving quickly to the second question, can we change? The answer to that is very positive. We've gone through a lot of this. The wind energy capacity is growing just tremendously. The U.S. can now power 26 million homes with wind alone, and the capacity is just growing by leaps and bounds. Solar, it's an even more dramatic story. It really and truly is an exponential curve. It gets cheaper every single month now, and it's really going to take over from fossil fuels, and that's really apparent now. In fact, the U.S. can already power more than 9 million homes, but that's just the beginning. This is just taking off like a rocket ship. One recent example, in May of this year, Arizona's Tucson Electric Power signed a contract for solar electricity at less than 3 cents per kilowatt hour. That's unbelievable. I mean, it's significant because it's so much cheaper than electricity that's generated by burning gas or burning coal. And that's the future. And the jobs are coming in large numbers now. Already 2.6 million jobs in the U.S. In solar and wind and renewable energy. And solar jobs are growing 17 times faster than the average of all other jobs in the economy. Solar jobs are by far the fastest growing jobs in the U.S. Economy. Second fastest growing job is wind turbine technician. There are now twice as many jobs in solar as in coal mining, and when you put the solar jobs and the wind turbine jobs together, the two of them just dwarf any other sector of the economy in fast-growing, good-paying jobs. Now, this is only going to get better with the development of the battery storage market, and sounds complicated. It's really not. If you can use solar at night with the batteries, then that's going to change everything. If the wind's not blowing during the day, you can use the wind electricity generated at night if you got the batteries, and we're now going to have the batteries at an affordable cost. The cumulative storage capacity has been growing. I've been impressed with these numbers, but boy, look at what the projection is in the years ahead. This is really a revolution in the energy market and in the economy generally. Electric cars, General Motors believes the future is all electric. Every automobile manufacturer in the world is shifting to electric cars. Building efficiency, that, in the view of some people, that doesn't have the so-called sex appeal, but actually there are lots and lots of jobs, and this saves consumers money, saves homeowners money and business owners money, and it reduces emissions. For these and many other reasons, the use of coal is going down rapidly. The coal plants that have been proposed have been stopped, and many have retired, and other retirements have been announced. We're shifting fairly dramatically to renewable energy. Last year, almost 3/4 of all the new electricity generation was in wind and solar, virtually none of it in coal. And the gas is now losing in head-to-head competitions to solar in many markets, and that's going to completely, that's going to really speed up also. I'm so excited that so many U.S. cities have made a commitment to shift over to 100% renewable energy, and a lot of them have already, well, some of them have already gotten there, including Georgetown, Texas, and many more to come. Hundreds of universities have made that commitment also, and lots of businesses as well. So can we change? You bet we can. Will we change? Yeah, we're going to change. The question is whether we'll change in time to avoid an unacceptable risk of crossing some kind of dangerous tipping point beyond which we could lose control of this. I'm very optimistic. we can change. We're going to win this. And the Paris Agreement 2 years ago set the direction of travel. Every country in the world, Trump can't even legally pull out until the day after the next presidential election in 2020. And in the meantime, California, New York, and Washington, and Oregon, and a whole bunch of other states. I think I may have a list of them here, but some of the investment experts and market experts are saying the U.S. is going to meet its commitments regardless of what the White House does. And here's this list I thought I had: Washington, New York, California, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, all these others, and hundreds of cities, 455 cities, 325 colleges and universities, 1,747 businesses and investment firms, all committed to stay in the Paris Agreement. And that's why the experts are saying we're on track not only to meet the commitments at Paris, but to exceed them. And the public support at the grassroots level. This was a big march surrounding the White House. I used to work in the White House. I never thought that I would be marching on the White House, but I'm in the lower right-hand corner there with my daughter and granddaughter, and I was proud to be there. And this grassroots activism is extremely important. And so what you have seen and heard here is designed to convince you to join all those who are using their voices to fight the climate crisis. Use your voice as a voice of reality. Fight like your world depends on it, because your world really does depend on it. And that is what this 24 hours of reality has been all about. And as we prepare to bring this year's 24 hours of reality to a close, I'd like to take a moment to express heartfelt thanks for the unbelievably skilled and dedicated men and women involved in making this whole effort such a success. Our hosts, Sam Champion, Sarah Backhouse, Vanessa Hauk, Jonathan Scott, Jamil Smith, Ying Chen, Namrata Brar, Helen Hunt, our social media ringmaster, Callum Worthy. I gave him a trophy last year. He deserves another one this year. All of our amazing musicians, Ryan Tedder and Bryn Cutzel from One Republic, Mariah Carey, Annie Lennox, Sheryl Crow, Peter Garrett and Midnight Oil, Ellie Goulding, Jason Mraz, Shawn Mendes, Nile Rodgers and Chic, Iggy Pop, The Killers, The Hives, Jean-Michel Jarre, Belinda Carlisle, Mana Jim, Jay Park, Billy Bragg, Rag and Bone, Man, Sean, Shai Ben Sur and the Rajasthan Express, Ali Simpson, Spencer Ludwig, Young Paris, Menzie, Eric Nam, Faye Reds, Now United, Levi Humman, Sandro, Cavaza, Christy Altamare, Tall Heights, a beautiful performance just now, and our special guests, including Vanessa Wu, Taya Leone, Nicholas Koster, Waldau, Shailene Woodley, Ed Begley Jr., Tim Daly just now, Richard Branson, Governor Jerry Brown, Governor Kate Brown, Mayor Carmen Cruz, Mayor Gregor Robertson, Mayor Hannah Gronke Witzwaltz, Mayor Eshok Shridharan, Mayor Sali Misamanga, Senator Sylvia Garza, Senator Lauren Lagarda from the Philippines, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern from New Zealand, Klaus Schwab, head of the World Economic Forum, President Michelle Bachelet of Chile, Mustafa Ali, and Patricia Espinosa from the United Nations, and our fantastic executive producers, Peter Green and Michael Shames, Stephen Adair, Daniel Adair, and the entire crew at Shoulder Hill Productions. They're the best in the business. And Ken Berlin, the president and CEO of the Climate Reality Project, and the entire Climate Reality staff. And of course, Beth Gear and my Nashville team. And if I may say, what a success this entire effort has been. Here are the numbers. This year, 24 hours of reality reached more than 500 million households in more than 100 countries. That's on broadcast television, 500 million households around the world. Climate Reality supporters and partners used their voices online and, using today's technology, broadcast the show through their Facebook feeds, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitch accounts. And together, you all have helped to make 24 Hours of Reality the #1 top trending video on YouTube, on Facebook Live, with more than 32 million people from some 200 nations going online to watch, over and above that massive audience on broadcast television. So thank you all. Now, I've got a few closing words to say. For decades now, scientists have been warning all of us in the world that if we continued to recklessly pollute the atmosphere, we would bear the consequences of our actions. Stronger storms, bigger floods, more devastating droughts, more destructive and widespread fires, melting ice and rising seas, tropical diseases migrating to higher latitudes, massive waves of climate refugees, many of them heartbroken, and the political disruption and enhanced risk of civil wars in some regions. We've seen that in Syria. And as we've seen, these consequences are now already visible around the world. And by the way, in the last 24 hours, just since our show began, 2 major fires broke out in California while we were getting warmed up at the beginning of the program. And within 24 hours, they have spread rapidly and consumed over 56,000 acres, resulting in the evacuation of 30,000 people in Southern California. And, you know, events like this are now reported daily on the news with a terrifying drumbeat of regularity, a so-called new normal. But it's not normal at all, and we have to speak up and act. Because over the last 24 hours, we've also seen another kind of action. We have heard the voices of people from around the world who are taking action to solve the climate crisis. We have seen how activists, businesses, local leaders, students, and individuals are making amazing progress in their communities, a progress toward a healthy, clean energy future. We have even heard from visionary governors, a prime minister, and a president, all of whom are offering leadership in our time of urgency. As of today, every single nation in the world is legally committed to the historic Paris Agreement to limit carbon and greenhouse gas emissions. And while the current United States leadership threatens to isolate itself from the world by pulling out, it cannot stop the momentum that is fueling progress. As we've seen market forces and technological developments continue to drive down the price of renewable energy, electric vehicles, batteries, and hundreds of efficiency improvements that are reducing energy demand, numerous and great jobs are being created in the clean energy economy. Cities, states, local leaders, and businesses are taking the lead on reducing emissions, and passionate individuals everywhere are making a tremendous difference. People just like you who are finding their voice on the climate issue and demanding and creating change. So thank you from the bottom of my heart to all who watched, all who shared, all who have taken and are taking action, all who have committed to be a voice of reality, to advocate for urgent solutions to the climate crisis. We must continue this momentum. It is our duty to act, to hasten the progress and the transition to a world powered by clean and sustainable energy, a prosperous and fair world. Every one of us can and must do our part. Every one of us can and must fight like our world depends on it, because it does depend on it. And when we do, we will prevail. We will solve the climate crisis. Thank you, and good night. Thank you.